Yo, hello everyone, and welcome back to Tub Nation TV. We are live with three top players as well as myself with Tub Takes. This is our new Monday stream segment where we are going to be going over the latest tournament results and talking about how the metagame has been developing over the past week. And so this is going to be live on Mondays on Twitch and then on my YouTube channel at CK49 on Wednesdays. And of course, I'm joined by my three lovely co-hosts. First and foremost, Alex Underhill, who is really driving the channel forward. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, peeps?
If you follow Tub Nation, you know who he is. And if you don't follow Tub Nation, make sure to follow Tub Nation right now. We've got Jeudy Ezzarelli. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Ready to talk some metagame talk with my friends here, all of you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's great to see you back playing, taking Pokemon real seriously.
I'm excited.
Yeah, looking forward to your second regional top cut. Is that right? In San Diego.
Second regional top cut, yes.
And then, of course, last but not least, we have Nick Navarre. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great. Ready to talk some VGC metagame development.
All right, all right. Yeah, so I guess we have a little bit of an idea of what we're going to talk about, but if you have any questions or anything, always feel free to jump into chat and ask, and we'll try to get back to you. But we do have, there were a bunch of smaller tournaments this weekend. I don't think there was any like one tournament that really stood out as a like one big go-to tournament like a couple weeks ago with Victory Road or the Limitless Tour. But we do have a few tours, and the first one that I guess we should talk about is the Liberty Note Championship Series, the first one of the year. Liberty Note is a Japanese website that hosts some really large tournaments. Alex actually played in this, so you might be able to give us a little bit more of a breakdown of what it looked like, how many players it was, etc.
Yeah, I think they had something like 280 players, maybe 283 was the number I remember last seeing. And it's like a tournament that's part of its own circuit, LCS as they're calling it, after WCS, which is what they usually refer to as, World Championships. So yeah, it rewards like circuit points, but no otherwise like prize money and such. And yeah, this one, it's obviously a tournament that is prioritizing players in Japan, considering it's a circuit based around people in Japan. So it was hosted like Friday night at like 7 p.m. for me, which is like actually pretty nice for my current sleep schedule. So I was like, all right, yeah, I can definitely play in this.
And so you got all the way to top 16. I don't have the tweet up, but you tweeted about what you ran as well. So
Yeah, you can find that on my Twitter if people want to find it at Lexicon VGC. But like the results of the tournament are on Liberty. I'm so close to saying Liberty Garden every time. Jeudy knows where I'm at, right?
Yeah, I thought it was Liberty Garden as well. So
Yeah, no, it's Liberty Note. Liberty Note. Liberty Garden's an old thing. Anyway, Liberty Note, that Twitter account has the full results up, and if you go to their page, you can find a link to the website that has like the full tournament usage stats as well, which is pretty cool, and as well as a picture of the top 8 results. One thing to mention is that this tournament was a 8-round, like hard cutted 8-round top or X and 2 cut, and so yeah, it like they were doing 8 rounds no matter what, no matter how many people they got. I don't know if 280 hits 9. That probably does. Is that around that?
yes, that hits 9 normally.
Yeah, that would normally hit 9 at our like regional level events. But yeah, and I guess anything that's hosted Swiss online. But they hard cutted it off at 8. Had an X and 2 cut, which led to about 37 people in the cut. 2 people said they couldn't make it. So they had 35. They had to do a play-in round to get into top 32. So the bottom 6 or so people fight to make it into top 32, and then it's just a normal 32-man bracket. And yeah, so then from there it just plays out like a regular old 32-person bracket. I guess I had that first round bye, and then I won my top 32, and then lost the following top 16. So that's where I ended up finishing.
Yeah. What did you think of the experience as an American playing in this like overnight Japanese tournament?
That was actually something I was really nervous going into it. I was like, I'm really worried about this language barrier. But just having the auto translate on the website and just constantly going to the tournament Discord, copying text, pasting it into Google Translate, and then lastly, all of my opponents were totally like they all talked to me in English, which was just like really accommodating. So um, I like there wasn't like long conversations or anything. It was just like hello, code, and then go GG's. Like, but it was that's all you need to just play the game, and that was it was really exciting. So I would definitely play in another one of these.
Pokemon is a universal language.
Yeah, that's true. I thought Swagger was universal.
So weird.
Yeah, unfortunately,
So
team sheets are
both of
not. That'd be fun to figure out.
Yeah, so this was I go. That's another very important aspect. Thanks for mentioning that, Adi. This was a closed team sheet tournament, and so because it was a closed sheet, I guess that's like technically not the best practice for our live circuit that we're going to be heading into. But one thing I will say, just like to give my take, was that I had a lot of fun playing closed sheet. I prefer closed sheet. I've said that plenty of times when I've been streaming, but. Yeah, like the tournament was fine closed sheet for everybody that's worried about like Terra and how that works with it. Obviously, that we have to be playing open sheet for the live events because of the issue with like battle box locking and making sure that people don't change their teams mid tournament and stuff. But because the games do not have battle box locking themselves. But I think that the game with Terra plays fine in best of 3 open sheet. It's just like if you get caught off guard by some weird Terra, then you go to game 2 and you win from there. If they get you twice, then you got. That's a best of 3, baby.
Yeah.
Classic VGC.
It's VGC.
Feels like it has for the past like decade or more.
Yeah. I just agree with that take in general. Is like, man, the game is fun now. It feels like we're playing VGC again.
Yeah. And so I guess I'm not going to dive into the discussion about open and closed team sheet because that we do not have nearly enough time to talk about that and also talk about all the tournaments that happened. I have a lot of opinions about that too. But let's talk about the results of this tournament. Again, as we mentioned, you got all the way to top 16. And we got a question, which is how do you join these tournaments? Alex, you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah. For the Liberty, the Liberty Garden, Liberty Note, the Liberty Note tournament. Yeah, I just went. I follow them on Twitter, and so when they announced it, I just clicked the link to their webpage where it told me I had to join the Discord and then also get signed up in the Tonemel, which is their tournament software. Often over here we use like Battlefy or Battlefy, however you say it. But yeah, it was just like click Tonemel, and Tonemel also translates very fine in Google Chrome for me. So I just filled in all the fields, and it was nothing too stressful or hard.
I've played in these tournaments before. I've played in one of them that was a 3v3, which is a format that I've seen in card games before. I haven't seen it in the video game before, where of course you, I guess sort of like Dojiro Cup, except you don't have the limitations of Dojiro Cup, where anyone can use any
It's
team.
just 3 players and 3 players.
Right. That is just the way to explain it, huh? And so, yeah. So I mean, I had a lot of fun playing that in I think in Series 8, I think it was back in 2020, 2021. So definitely would recommend playing these tournaments if you are willing to absolutely wreck your sleep schedule, or if you are a complete degenerate already, either one. But yeah, on that note, let's talk about the results of this tournament. So we have the winner. I'm just not even going to try to pronounce these names. The winner's name because I don't know.
Sasisu Memo.
Sasisu Memo. That's mostly it. And they actually I think posted a rental cut of the team. It is a pretty straightforward Mousehold, Murkrow, Hydreigon. We've seen all these monsters before. Anything crazy you guys see here?
Well, the Hydreigon
Not really.
was actually Scope Lens, which I guess is the cool set. I don't know how popular that is over here, like in the West, but I know that it was used on the winning team, so that was a pretty cool note. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It,
Scope on Side Dragon is real. It like Terra Fire Flamethrower. Or is it what's the fire move on the Hydreigon?
This one was Heat Wave.
Okay, the Heat Wave's also good. Both are valid. Um, yeah, it's like to set the it's real. Um, yeah, nothing too crazy, honestly, on any of these.
I would say that the
Uh,
main takeaway from looking at this winning team is that this is your typical Murkrow Tailwind team with a lot of the Pokemon that you're used to seeing, Goldengo, Garchomp, and Hydreigon, but all three of them have a setup move. Um, that is Nasty Plot on the Goldengo, Focus Energy with the Scope Lens on the Hydreigon, and Swords Dance on the Garchomp. And this is paired with double redirection. I want to make sure that I'm not incorrect on the Garchomp. I was pretty sure that it had that. Actually, maybe that might be Terrafire of Terra Blast. I don't know Terra Blast in Japanese. Um, so maybe John can double check that for me. Anyway, then with double
could be
redirection.
Sword Stance or yeah.
It's Swords Dance or Terra Blast, one of the two. But the important thing to take away is that it's yeah, okay. Evan confirms it's Swords Dance with double redirection. So it's got the mouse hold and the Amoonguss, and sometimes that's people's entire game plan is on the turn that they are getting that setup, that nasty plot, that focus energy, to take out the redirection mon and then just outspeed and KO the Pokemon that set up. But with a second set of redirection, you can really open yourself up to sweep with, said Pokemon. And obviously, that was a good part of the team that took it all the way to the top. Oh, and sorry that I'm rambling here, but one last thing that has to be mentioned is the Murkrow, I believe, was Torment.
Yep.
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. I mean, I think the main choice user of the format, the main two are probably Meowscarada, which is unaffected, and Goldengo, which is unaffected. So you're not going to like catch choice users with it, but there are a lot of Pokemon that probably want to be spamming the same move over and over again, and so that is going to throw them off a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the second place team was Snow, who is a little better known, at least for me. And they had a much more unusual team that I guess we should talk about because you might notice this Azumarill does not have a fairy move. It is a Perish Azumarill. So this is like a little bit of a Perish trap team. It doesn't fully commit to it, but it has the Gothitelle Perish mode on it, as well as some more offensive Pokemon to try to abuse Shadow Tag, which I think is a really cool team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Gothitelle set was also quite interesting. It's got Hypnosis, Heal Pulse, Fake Out, and Protect. So no Trick Room and no attacking moves are both just interesting choices.
Yeah.
Like Heal Pulse Goth is certainly a strong option, and a lot of Gothitelles that we've been seeing running around and doing well at tournaments have been Hypnosis. The other Gothitelle in the top 8 was also Hypno. That's a mon that you got to keep your eye on moving forward is Hypno Gothitelle. But
It did.
not having an attacking move is super interesting. And like it clearly worked out for Snow, and not one to doubt Snow. So just I don't know, it's pretty cool.
It did good last week too, right? Gothitelle. It won the Limitless Tour, or the one that you were in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the Gothitelle Mirror in finals. I may or may not have had Hypnosis on my Gothitelle, but my opponent definitely did.
Yeah.
They revealed that to great effect on. I don't remember whose stream. I think it was Dean's stream.
It was his.
Yeah, the Hypno Goth went crazy there.
In top 8, there's another Gothitelle. I don't know if we mentioned that already, but yeah, there was another Goth. That was the team that knocked me out, and that was another Gothitelle with Hypnosis. Just if you don't take care of it quickly enough and give it enough pre-turns, it's going to be able to land some Hypnosises, and Sleep, even though it's not a restricted or Dynamax format, can still be pretty dire if you let your opponent, get enough momentum built up off those turns that you're spent doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I mean, Gothitelle was a Pokemon. Uh, in Gen 8, of course, it got Fake Out, and we were talking about how broken that move is in a non-Dynamax format. It was very common in like Series 10, for example, but now now in a format where, of course, we don't have Dynamax, we were never intended to. It still kept Fake Out. I guess we have Fake Out counterplay, but I still think Fake Out Goth is crazy. I just think it's absurd. And you look at like the team that got top 8 with double Fake Out with Palmot, the ability to revive something with the Rival Blessing, namely Dondozo, like, and then Gothitelle trapping in clicking Fake Out next to your Meowscarada is just so powerful. We see it on so many different teams.
Yep. Do we think it gets better or worse in closed team sheets? I guess that maybe really isn't the scope here, but like you forcing your opponent to figure out what your flow charts are, even if they can see your moves in a really short time, probably is still pretty powerful.
And I think
Yeah.
Fake Out is just way better when you know where the Covert Cloak is, know what the Terra
Yeah.
Ghost is, know where the Protects are.
Yeah.
So like it feels like something that just genuinely might get better in open team sheets, despite the fact that it probably benefits a little bit from not having it set known.
Yeah. And like even though like you see hypnosis, there's no like built-in counterplay. You can't safety goggles it. So it's just like, oh, it has hypnosis. I have to deal with it eventually. And it has shadow. It has the busted ability, shadow tag as well. So it really does warp how you play the game, and it only gets better when you can make more educated like fake out choices or hypnosis choices, because you can see what you need to take out to like advance your board better.
Yeah. Gothitelle is just insane. Shadow Tag's insane, and the amount is spooky. It hasn't been getting crazy usage. Like, there weren't many Gothitelles in the VR tour last week, and 2 appeared in finals, and there's a couple more in top 8 here. Despite, again, I think it only had like 5 or 6% usage, somewhere around there. It was 5.7% usage in the Liberty tour, and ended up in top 8. So, yeah, it's definitely a mon that's been performing well despite minimal usage.
We described it, I think, at the beginning of the format as a mon that was going to be difficult to figure out how to use, but now people are starting to figure out how to use it, and Shadow Tag is just as broken as it ever has been. It looks like, even though like.
And again, these are closed sheet tours, so your mileage may vary on whether you think he gets better in closed or open sheet, but.
It's also a closed sheet tour. It also was rental code allowed tournament. We've been seeing that a lot for online tournaments, but I don't think you can understate the effect of that on the metagame, just because if somebody has to go through the length of creating the team themselves, they might not select just a rental team. Then they might say, I want to use something of my own, or they maybe they have to stick with the same team 2 weeks in a row because they didn't have time to prepare something new. But when you're allowing rental codes, it just means that you can see somebody else using exactly what you want to use. Just type it in and load it up. And I think that's kind of like reflected a little bit in some of the top mons usage. Like I'm looking at these, and like Meowscarada has the highest usage at 43%. Sylveon is at 3rd, and you see those two together on a lot of Dondozo teams. And then in the tweet thumbnail, we had the dreaded Annihilate Mousehold combination, which is also just like significantly stronger in closed sheet. We were talking about Goth maybe getting better in open sheet. I think that the monkey just gets worse. Abe, I just want to know what it's doing. Just tell me your secrets, you stupid ape. Annihilate, what Terra is it gonna be? What ability does it have? What item is it holding? And what is that mouse up to too? Because is it Technician? Is it gonna just population bomb Oko me? Is it Friend Guard? Does it have Feint? Does it have Beat Up? There's just so many little secrets that these guys are holding, and I need to know.
Yeah, those mons definitely. I think it's fair to say their power drops off if they're only limited to 4 moves and 1 ability that you have to play around. But crazy and closed team sheet for sure. Unless you want to just gamble on what their terror type and item and everything is. But yeah.
I think for me, the really big surprise of this top 10 in usage is Sylveon, because that was a Pokemon that I knew was good, but it was not like top 10 good, or certainly not top 3 good.
Sylveon showing up at third, 28% usage. That has to be an anomaly. I'll be shocked if that's where it's
Again,
going
this
forward.
could very well be a rental code factor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of good Pokemon that are just hovering a little bit outside the top 10, like Amoonguss at 12th, Big Sharp at 15, Skeledirge outside of the top 20.
Arcanine,
Like just a lot of
Dragonite,
like all the
Azu.
way down.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
so many good Pokemon. I mean, this metagame, we see Gothitelle, right, with 2 in top 8, and all the way down here. Palmont, of course, won the Victory Road Tour, got a couple slots in top 8 here. So yeah, this metagame is really diverse. There are a lot of viable Pokemon. I mean, I'm just going through this list, and like, I don't think I've hit the viability floor yet. Okay, now I might maybe hit it with Vaporeon, right? But even then, Kilowattrel's a good Pokemon. Ticket's a good Pokemon. This is
When I was going through the format at the start, I thought there were about between 70 and 80 viable Pokemon, and that number hasn't really changed much. Like a couple of the slots have flipped around, but I think the number is still pretty much accurate.
And, I mean,
it's just an absurdly wide format. We've never seen anything like this in VGC, and so how people are going to deal with that moving forward is going to be really interesting.
It looks like there are 66 Pokemon that got at least at least 2 uses, for what it's worth.
Yeah, kind of OD. I think the one thing that was, I guess you can't see the whole thing from a graphic, but psychic spam stuff was notably not in the top 8. Which I'd assume in a bigger graphic we'd see like some of them. But that's like a team I feel like is stronger in closed team sheets as opposed to open. But
it had a lot of usage. Indeed,
have
was
a lot of usage.
5% usage. Armarouge was all the way up at 19%.
Yeah.
And so it's a pretty big whiff to not see any in the top 8. Do they have a graphic of every team in cut or no?
Yeah, they do. Nick, if you click the link in the document,
Okay, thank you.
the first link for that one. Audie just might not
Sure.
have it up on stream currently.
I'm looking for it.
Well, it's at the top of the page, Audie. If you're.
Oh yeah, I mean I was on the website page.
They have a top 8,
maybe I was-
right? They don't have a whole top
They
8.
Oh, is that what we're
Yeah.
looking for? No, they only have top 8. Like that's,
Oh yeah, that was what I was asking for. I was asking if they had the whole cut. Okay.
No,
that's-
nothing on that.
Okay.
You don't get to know what I'm running, as well as some of the other people that got knocked out in the
Sure.
top 16 and top 32.
There's no way for me to find out what Alex Underhill was running at this tournament.
Well, yeah, I mean,
What
you'll
was
have,
he
to
picking?
you'll have to check out my Twitter or Twitch to get that answer. And honestly, you've already lost at that point. You've given me my clicks.
And on that note, it's time for an ad break. No, I'm kidding. Okay, and one more thing that I did want to mention, because we're on the topic of Hypnosis, is that it wasn't just Hypnosis, Gothitelle. Like, Hypnosis did win the first big tour. Fede Campo used it on his Gengar in the Limitless Tour, and I had to face that team a couple times, and that is very scary as well. So I do think that there isn't a ton of counterplay to that. And the main counterplay to, like, Amoonguss Spore, right, the reason that it's not everywhere is Goldengo, and some maybe even Meowscarada, but both of those are threatened by Gengar as well. So, like, that's another Pokemon that gets Hypnosis that at least covers a lot of the counterplay to Sleep that we traditionally see.
Yep.
Oh, let me add one more thing about this tournament before we move past it. I should have added this at the beginning, but here we are. It's important to know that this tournament did not allow Trick Room and Didi, just because it had been the tournament was announced before Trick Room and Didi was I guess sort of accepted, confirmed over here in the West, and so yeah, they said like, hey, just so you know, even though that's going on over in the West, we're not going to allow it yet, and so they just didn't want to pull a fast one on anybody. So that might have impacted Indeedee Armorers and Spam, the success of it, but we'll see how it goes in the future for that archetype.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts about the Japanese tournament? Are we good to move on to the next tournament on our list?
Let's go.
Just,
Or, you got anything, Nick?
Oh no, just
Oh,
it was a pretty important tour. And it was like it had a lot of cool results. So
yeah, mouse ape. That's it,
True.
mouse ape.
Okay. The one thing I will point out for Dondozo and top 8, that is something to keep track of because that Pokemon, of course, is the Pokemon that I at least think of the most.
also
Because
three mice in top 4 and 4 in top 8 is also
Three
it was a
mice.
really good tournament for Mousehold.
Mousehold, we were talking about how that might do better in closed team sheet. Meowscarada is
Yeah.
the other Pokemon that obviously just that is. I don't think anyone thought of it as the best Pokemon in the format, but for it to be so far and beyond everything else in usage is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, a whole 13% higher than the number 2 mon.
Rhodian.
But I mean, it has seen a lot of success.
Elder Growl.
We saw it do well with
Yeah.
Aaron Trailer's team. I forget if the team that you lost to in finals of VR had it with Cold and Wet.
Yeah, it did.
He did, yeah. So I guess also maybe just rental codes have been popping up with it, but also it's just a very good Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean those rental codes are getting picked. Presumably, there's a lot of rentals without it too. And yeah, like it showed up and it also converted into like top 8 placings. So yeah,
It's
good
also
mon.
not a super terribly linear Pokemon. It has, a lot of moves that it's gonna run almost always, in like Flower, Trick, and Knockoff. But then, again, this is, a bit different between closed and open sheet. But like, you have to prepare for the multiple different sets it can be running when you're just building your team. You know what you're going up against in the actual match, but can your team handle it being choice banded? Can it handle it being focus sashed? Can it handle it having Trick Room? Can it handle having Sucker Punch or U-turn? There's a lot of different options for this Pokemon that make it not just a one trick to
Yeah.
use a little pun.
It gives me a lot of 17 Kartana vibes, honestly. And not just because it's a physical grass type that has like an amazing speed tier, but also and like it's got the crit factor, but also just the narrative around it. People weren't very excited about it before they saw it, and they thought its stats were kind of mid. But then when people started playing with it, they realized, oh, this mon is just really good. Its damage output is legit, and it is not that easy to knock out, and it's just a really solid Pokemon.
And it has an absolutely insane move pool. It has maybe 10 different moves that can reasonably run.
Yeah. It also has a very clear top couple moves, and the typings of its moves are like pretty straightforward to resist. So if you want to run Meowscarada counterplay, just like if you wanted to run Kartana counterplay, it's pretty straightforward to do it. But you lock yourself into resisting grass and also its other coverage, or you're gonna get kind of rolled over.
And so, I guess with that, let's move on to the second tournament that happened, which is the Nino Pokebros Tour, and that was hosted on Limitless as well. I think it was like a 200 odd player tournament. I don't have the number up here, but yeah. So this was a free tournament. There was no prizing, but it did get a lot of entries, and it did have I think top 16 cut, and we have all of the teams over here on Limitless. So I guess, yeah. What are your guys' thoughts on this tournament and the results?
Okay, so
We saw Santino take the crown in this one, and with a Dondozo team, no less. Dondozo, definitely something to watch out for. Have you heard of it? And Yeah, since Adi had mentioned that these are open, this was an open list tournament. If you want to know everything about what Santino's running, you can just head to the Limitless page and click along. I believe Santino also put a rental code out, so
Yeah.
if you want to just like play with that yourself in game on the ladder, you can get a feel for it too. I think what's worth noting about Santino's team that makes it a little bit different than other Dondozo teams, a little bit interesting, is the double tailwind option. I found that kind of strange to have both Murkrow and Talonflame. You usually see people opt for one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Funnily enough, Santino has fake out counterplay on both of them in Terra Ghost Murkrow and Covert Cloak Talonflame. Though Terra ghosting Murkrow, as an aside, maybe you just take that fake out. Burning your whole Terra on turn one just to dodge a fake out might not be, but maybe it is. I mean, it's
If you
still.
need
I
the
think.
tempo, you need the tempo.
Yeah, I think it's still probably
And
like one of the best, if not the best, Terra types on it. I'm just saying, when you see that there, don't just click that every single time you see fake out. Do
yeah,
think
you might. It's probably
Yeah.
more worth going for it later in the game to get a second talent.
that's true too. Yeah, yeah,
When
yeah.
you
If you
more
haven't,
sure that that line is going to be um, like winning for you.
Goldengo had chose Power Gem for its third move after the typical dual stab protect on a Life Orb set, and then the Merkur also has Quash, which I think is a pretty cool move that like I think Murkrow's somewhat known for if you've been playing VGC a while, but I feel
Mm-hmm.
like hasn't been seeing a lot of usage this time around, and I mean I'm kind of surprised that it's taken this long to pop up
Yeah.
and this big because it's such a strong move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like a historical like part of its kit, and people have just been slamming haze on it with good reason. But um, uh, yeah, Quash has been like the move that's been cut. It also has
Yeah.
some other toys like Feather Dance that haven't really been seeing any play.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like Haze just has too much synergy with Goldengo and with dealing with Dozo, and um, very understandable. Murkrow does like have a lot of toys though. It's still interesting to see Taunt get dropped, and not put like anywhere else on the team.
I guess on this team it makes
Uh,
sense because the Pokemon you're putting next to Murkrow are a Masquerada or a Goldengo all the time,
or a sub Dozo.
or a Subdozo. Yeah, and so you really
Yeah,
don't
so
need.
like there's more counterplay baked in, so I don't mind it. But
Yeah.
um,
Um. Uh. Actually, none of the Murkrows that I'm actually looking at in top 8 ran taunt, or
interesting.
maybe I'm missing a team. Let me check Moretta's right now as well. Yeah, okay, that one did run taunt, but lots of them just forgot. One went for protect, two went for quash. Both the top 4 teams had quash, so people did catch on at least now to it. But Murkrow has a lot of moves. Very very versatile Pokemon that is not just known. Well, it is big for having the priority tailwind, but yeah, I feel like I definitely wanna. There was also 3 Talonflames in top 8, not just like even though Santino opted for both. Talonflame, I haven't really seen many Talonflames in the other tournaments, so that was kind of cool to see as well.
Talonflame's been like sticking around. It's had pretty solid usage, and it's been pretty comfortably like overperforming its usage. I think I want to say. Um,
Yeah,
it hasn't been one of the biggest mons that's been like overperforming its usage and or just like winning more than it's losing, but um,
yeah,
it's been performing very solidly.
I do think that part of that is that Fast Wisp is really really good this format.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Just I think it outspeeds Meowscarada, which is really really important. It's just like this is the first format in a while where we haven't had something like Tapu Koko or Reggie Eliki or I don't know, even like Dragonbolt and say Dragonbolt's around, but like I don't know, just like all these really crazy fast things that outspeed it and KO Talonflame. And so now,
Yeah.
even if you don't have Gale Wings, you still get to move first, and you get to set up Tailwind, and so you don't have to click the turn one. You get to do the other. It does have like a very solid support move pool, some very threatening attacking moves, even if it doesn't have the attacking stat. and it gets to click those moves not just on turn one now.
Hmm.
Yeah.
If you believe that Murkrow has a higher attack stat than this Pokemon,
I believe it. I think
you
it's so hard in Little Cup.
you wouldn't know it. Like just I don't know, looking at him, I guess. But like, yeah, Murkrow, because it was originally designed to be like a standalone Pokemon back in Gen 2, it has just like weird mixed offense stats, and it has an 85 attack stat compared to
Yeah.
Talon's. I mean, Talon's history of clicking Brave Bird is well known to anybody that's been playing Pokemon in the past like 10 years. But
Yeah.
that that Pokemon is just in fact weaker than Murkrow, and I think that's very funny.
Testament to how strong Brave Bird is.
That's true. Brave
For-
Bird is a very good move.
Um, yeah, I guess. And so, Talonflame. I get. Do you want to talk about like the Dondozo teams in general? Because we've seen a lot of them do really well, and I think that they've started to. There's a couple different ways to build it, but most of them are not going for like suicide Tatsugiri anymore. Most of them are trying to put the like four most powerful Pokemon you can find in the metagame, or three most powerful Pokemon you can find in the metagame, one speed control mon, and then Tatsugiri Dondozo, or running stuff like Palmot to try to revive the Dondozo. We've seen a few of those. What do we think of the different ways to build Dondozo?
Meowscarada just is pretty much a staple. It bullies water types that might resist Dozo's main stab move. It's like you can lead Dozo Meowscarada and you get a U-turn off before still getting your full powered attack, and so it's just some extra damage you can staple on. Just a lot of people have generally, like the community has generally agreed that Meowscarada is one of the four Pokemon on your team alongside Dozo Tats. And then yeah, some type of bird usually. I don't know if Talonflame has been like totally accepted as the best overall, but it has been like Dondozo Talonflame has just been performing extremely well. And so I expect to see Talonflame and Palmot just kind of come to the forefront as mons that really belong on the archetype. Other than those two, there's nothing that sticks out too strongly, and so like there's just a lot of freedom to explore past that. But or yeah, like Meowscarada, Talonflame, and what was the third one? Palmot are the three that just probably belong on the team, or maybe saying they belong on the team is probably too strong, but I would not be surprised to see those three performing the best moving forward. The sixth slot, it's just very much an open question. Hydreigon has been performing quite well as well, actually. I'm not sure if that six is the best way to build it. Just looking at a little bit of the data and seeing what's been performing well.
Yeah.
From these guys.
I think it's pretty scary how versatile it is. Because like at first you would think to take away like the drawback is you have to use two mons, but they're maybe less so Dondozo, lots more Tatsugiri, but they are pretty good standalone mons. So like the whole sacking stuff was pretty one dimensional. So I'm kind of glad. I think it's a lot worse than open team sheets. I think the other thing that we were seeing a lot of is people like 50-50ing their leads. They'd have like Dondozo Tatsugiri, another two in another tournament, or lots of tournaments we've been seeing Titar, Lycanroc, and then they'll have like Meowscarada plus something else. And I think that's kind of like really strong that people can like use like things that don't really have synergy but like have synergy, because if you're playing a Dondozo team and you're able to like take out a Pokemon or two and then bring in Dondozo, that's probably like the best part is like because you have to expend so many resources to get rid of Dondozo already. So that's one way I think is cool to build it. I like how Miascarada interacts with it. I think if I played it, I'd do pretty similar. But another thing, like I think my favorite Tatsugiri has been Scarf, just because it's like a base 120 special attack mon that can move and hit Draco Meteors and Muddy Waters. There's just a lot of ways to build it. I like went back to check like the Japanese results, and like all of them were pretty like vastly different from each other, but all like accomplished the same thing. So it's like it's annoying because I got to prep for this Pokemon, and then they have way too many different teams. Like, it's not one archetype of Dondozo. There's so many things you got to prep for.
Yeah, Dondozo doesn't even feel like it gets like it feels like it'll be easier to figure out which of your strategies you have to employ to beat the Dondozo once we are fighting in an open team sheet. But it has good versatility or variety in its sets that when you're at the team building stage, it's like, yeah, okay, here's my game plan. I'm gonna, spore that Dondozo. Oh, it's Terra Grass. Well, the game plan now is I have to do this and this and this and this, and then work around it. And after that, deal with the Tatsugiri with a Choice Scarf that's clicking Draco Meteor. Oof. Yeah, definitely a really strong, versatile Pokemon that we are seeing used a lot at the highest levels. Top players from all over are using it. It's very popular in Japan. We're seeing Santino use it here. I believe we're seeing other top players like Pato use it. Wolf and Aaron Trailer were using it. It's just people are like thinking, do I try to use it or beat it? And I think a lot of top players would be very wary about using something that is very telegraphed and counterable. And that doesn't seem to be the case for this thing, even though it seems a lot more straightforward than some other top things we've seen in the past, I guess. I mean, maybe it isn't as straightforward as I'm giving it credit for.
It's um, it's also just it's winning a lot.
Mhm.
Like the mon, I don't think our usage stats are perfect at all, but from the usage stats, which are just like from a couple of these tournaments, Dondozo has a 59% win rate, which is just it's pretty small sample size, so it's not like running away with the field or anything. And there are some mons that are performing better on much smaller sample size, but the mon is just performing very, very well. So like anyone who's, I don't think anyone's seriously arguing that Dondozo isn't good at this point, but the mon is very clearly here, and it is now, and you have to like come ready to play it if you're not using it.
Not to derail us away from Dondozo, because I do think we could spend the rest of like the 3 hours, however long you want to have until you're going to bed, to talk about. I'm not saying we're going for 3 hours, but I think we could talk all night about
Yeah.
Dondozo and the intricacies of it. We've been asked about, I believe, two teams, mainly one team, Adi. But if you wanted to pull up the sixth place team from the tournament, Moretta SK.
I've pulled up a bunch of teams that I want to talk about because they have some interesting mons that I want to look at. I haven't looked at these teams yet. But one thing,
And then, okay, the other one I wanted to just mention was the Mava team. Everyone wants to talk about Spiritomb, right?
yes, I have that pulled up.
So let us know. Just say it in the voice quality so that because we don't have the stream. Which one are you pulling up first?
Oh, hold up. One thing I want to say before that, while we're looking at
Okay.
the top 16 list, before we start diving into individual teams, is that we were talking about Maushold Annihilate and how it was everywhere in the Japanese tournament. Notably, there was only one that was in top 16 here in this open team sheet tournament. There were individual instances of Annihilate and Maushold
team.
that did very well, but that as a combination maybe is not nearly as good in open team sheet because people kind of know what it's doing. Maybe not. Maybe it just wasn't as used. Maybe Japanese players are just think it's a better combination and it sees more usage. But this might be evidence indicating that that it is better in closed team sheet.
I can actually just tell you how well that combination performed. Maushold Annihilate was. Give me 1 second to flip through here. Just looking at the wrong part.
The best finish for it was in top 8 on the Spiritomb team. So
That's
we
true.
got to talk
Yeah.
about the Spiritomb team.
Okay.
I'm like,
Annihilate Mousehold, the combination of the two of them went, they're 93 and 93 overall. So,
Mid, so mid,
yeah.
perfectly mid.
All right. So, I guess with that being said, I pulled up the one team that did do well with it, which of course also has a Spiritomb. The rest of the months are pretty standard. The Indeed is Colberberry. I don't think we need to talk about any of these Pokemon too much, other than the Spiritomb, which is Citrus Berry, and it is Terra Water with Will-O-Wisp, Skill Swap, Trick Room, and Foul Play.
yeah. It's pretty obvious. Like from first glance, this is my first time looking at this team. It's pretty obvious the Spiritomb is really good into Dondozo. First thought, having Infiltrator, so you can go through sub. Having Will-O-Wisp skill swap, so you can actually take away Unaware. So that was my initial thought. It's like this just looks like it's very like this person was like, I'm gonna bring this into every Dondozo they see. But yeah.
That was a philosophy that we've discussed in team building. Maybe we just run one dedicated mon that counters Dondozo. And I don't like. I'm just looking at the Spiritomb. It seems like it is so low impact into every other Pokemon or team other than Dondozo. And then, of course, Terra Water is good into Dondozo. Skill Swap gets rid of the Unaware and gives it to you. And then Foul Play lets you hit with their attack boost, but ignoring their defense boosts.
I think that might not be true. I'd want to
That's
double
not
check
true.
on that one.
That's not true.
It ignores, it just, it's basically +0.
It's +0.
So
Okay.
it does about 25% of it.
So like Foul Play would do the
Or
same
30%.
amount of damage to a Dondozo at +2 and +2 as +0 and +0, correct?
Okay.
Yes, it ignores all the boosts.
Yeah.
Good to know.
However, Nick, I think that number is wrong. I thought it was doing like 40. I've seen it in action. I thought it did a decent amount.
If
What's
they're-
stab? I don't know.
This
No, I think it's, could be wrong. I thought it
Anyway,
was doing about-
one thing I want to mention that the Spiritomb seems to be lacking, one of my favorite tools that it has available to it in the Dondozo matchup. I don't know which of these moves you drop because all of them are good, but it has Pain Split. And Pain Split is a very real move when you have a base 68 HP and the target has a base 150 HP. That is basically just, a free heal, a big snack.
Yep. I also want to point out that it has Infiltrator as its normal ability, which means that you can Will-O-Wisp it through Substitute as well. So it has all these great tools to beat Dondozo. And now let's look at who this person lost to in Top Cut. Oh, they lost to the Dondozo that won the tournament? Oh, that's crazy.
Whoa. Can't believe that.
I'm of the opinion that if your Dondozo counterplay is an individual Pokemon, the problem with that philosophy is that you don't just have to beat Dondozo, you also have to beat the Tatsugiri and the Meowscarada and the Talonflame and the Goldengo or whatever else Santi had in his team. They have 3 other Pokemon and you are dedicating one very slow answer to beating Dondozo. And they could just if they don't bring Dondozo, right, they have a coherent mode with 4 other Pokemon a lot of times.
Yeah.
You have a dead slot on your team. Because Spiritomb is not really a Pokemon other than in this one specific matchup against this one specific Pokemon. So I don't know. I don't like the philosophy of putting a dedicated Dondozo answer unless that Mon is also really good into the other Pokemon on the Dondozo team, or immediately wins the game against Dondozo, or is also a Pokemon in other matchups. And while it is very cool to see Spiritomb do so well in a tournament, I am not at all surprised that the dedicated Dondozo counter lost to Dondozo in Top Cut.
Let me not ask the people in the call, but let me ask the chat. Do you guys think Adi's a hater? Because I think Adi's a hater. Listen to this guy. Nothing but negative. Toxic. Let's let's try to get away from that bad energy and maybe talk about some more fun stuff.
Can we get a poll? Can you put up a poll? Is Adi a hater? I will abide by the results of this poll.
You know what? John or Dane can. We have John and Dane. Somebody can set up a poll for that if you guys don't mind. Or I can do it too. But anyway, let's move on and talk about the next team. People wanted to talk about Moretta's team, the Florges Garganackle one.
Okay.
So Adi, you want to go ahead and walk through some of the stuff you see on that one.
One sec. I've pulled. Okay, here we go. Mava Moretta. Okay, I got it pulled up. So Moretta's team, of course, is most notable because it has a Florges, which is not a Pokemon that we've seen a lot of. Florges has an ability called Flower Veil, which, if I recall correctly, and someone's going to correct me on this, it means that Grass-type partners cannot have their stats dropped and cannot have statuses inflicted on them. Is that right?
Yep.
I think that's correct.
Okay.
I don't remember if they can self-drop stats, but largely, yeah.
I thought the point, like historically, was you put it next to a Kartana and they can't Will-O-Wisp you and they can't intimidate you.
Yep.
Which is pretty cool. However, notably, there is no grass type on this team. There is a Terra grass type, but it's not something that can be intimidated. So it's interesting to me that they have a Florges. It's leftovers with Calm Mind, Giga Drain, and Moonblast. So it is not trying to do any like funny symbiosis shenanigans. It's not trying to do anything too unfair. It's not trying to support something. It is just a good standalone Pokemon, it seems like, with Calm Mind, trying to set up and kind of win the game on its own.
Yeah. It does
so
have 154 special defense too, which is probably the biggest pull on this. And it's a fairy type. Fairy type with lots of SPDF.
Yep.
Yeah. Did you want to say something, Nick? Sorry.
It's not a Sylveon. And I'm not entirely sure why it's not a Sylveon, even after looking at the set. It can Giga Drain, but Sylveon learns Calm Mind. That's pretty much what I'm feeling. Like, if you really wanted Moonblast, Sylveon gets that. I am a hater, much like Adi. I'm not sure what Foyer's doing here, even after seeing the set.
I think we need
but-
another poem.
Is Nick a hater too?
I'm certainly a hater.
Well,
I try to
I
keep
think we
my open mind.
included an also yes to account for Nick in there too.
Otherwise, the Garg set is very interesting. It's got Iron Defense, Body Press, and Wide Guard. Usually people choose between those, but it opted to drop both of Recover and Protect, which might have messed up some people's Guard counterplay. Recovers felt great on them but it clearly did pretty well for them for Moretta, so no flame there. A little bit of flame there. The rest of the team is like relatively straightforward. 3 attacks. Well, actually, no. 3 attacks Volcarona is also interesting. Have not seen much of that either. So, and that one actually just looks cool. I'm not gonna flame that.
I'm not a hater. Here we go.
Jeudy, confirmed, not a hater. So to answer some questions from chat, the Volcarona is Terra Grass, so there is a kind of a grass type for Flower Veil, but not really something that the Volcarona does not benefit from Terra Grass tremendously, other than like Snarls potentially. And then I guess the open question is thoughts on body press sets in this format. Adam says he feels like they are super meh. As a hater, as a confirmed hater, also agree. I think that Iron Defense Body Press is kind of meh, especially when Unaware and Haze are the name of the game in this format. But Body Press on its own is just a pretty good fighting move into a format that has stuff like Maushold and Meowscarada and Big Sharp, Kid Gambit all over the place. So I think that Body Press is a good move. I just don't think Iron Defense is a especially good move to set it up.
Yeah, 100% agree with Adi. Iron Defense is pretty mid. Body Press by itself is important coverage for them on.
Yeah,
we definitely don't need
I would say 200% agree with Adi, just to be above me.
I guess specifically on Moretta's team, the one thing I don't like about Iron Defense is that they usually don't use Wide Guard, but they figured out a way to fit both. So you know what, big fan. But yeah, I echo everyone's sentiment about Body Press. It's just a good move to click, not necessarily Iron Defense stuff. But yeah.
One funny thing about this, with like Swords Dance, Garchomp, Nasty Claw, Rotom, and Quiver Dance on Volcarona, they just took the Pokemon that you'd most often see setting up and just took all the setup moves off them, instead put them on the floor just in the Garg. And I think that's really funny.
They also have a Haze
Uh,
Murkrow on a team that has multiple setup
A couple
Pokemon.
boosters. Yeah.
I think that okay. Here's my take on this Garganacl set because I don't think that you need Protect. Protect is mostly really good because I mean Salkir obviously getting to chip away, but also because of leftovers and you getting your own healing, meaning that you can basically go protect, recover, and every single turn, every combination of 2 turns, you're getting I think like 75% of your HP back, which is a lot, right? And you can kind of win in games that way. If you don't run leftovers, then Protect is a little worse. And if you're choosing to run Figgy Berry because you have your leftovers on another Pokemon, I understand dropping Protect. I just think it's so much harder to justify dropping Recover than it is to justify dropping Protect because that move is so good.
That's my opinion as well. Yeah. And even
Yeah.
leftovers is just really nice on a mon that sits there for a while.
Yeah,
But
same here. I also agree with Adi, but like more.
Yep. So I guess on that note, I did have a couple other teams that I pulled up that weren't asked about. Did anyone have anything else to say about Moretta's team? I guess.
No. But there's too many other teams that we got to talk about. Too many
Yeah.
other
Okay.
things to talk about that we can't spend that much time on each one individually.
Okay, so Loving Q had a cool team. They went 10-2 overall, and
And
they
a cool Mon. Okay, I no, you know what? Cool Mons. I'm a Rowan fan after this weekend, but go ahead, Adi. What do we got here?
I think Breloom is of course a cool mon. I do think that White Herb Hydreigon is a really cool tech that they have going for them. Trying to get 2 Draco
Oh,
meters
I'm
off.
sorry. I don't know. You know what? You're
Oh.
giving them too much credit. I think that's awful.
Hold on, hater alert.
I think
My hater energy's coming out, and I think it's because I've been agreeing with Adi too much. That seems really bad. The only time like that you're no. Just take your -2 and then Q into Dondozo and just keep Dracoing it. You know, just
Well, no, we have Haze for Dondozo.
This team also has Haze.
This team
on
has
the
Haze.
Murkrow.
Okay,
Why are we waiting?
I'm okay. I agree with you now. I
and
don't
we
get
pack
it.
their amulet on the quack. These stats are never getting dropped. They're fighting me at my best. Except for Weapon Island.
Okay. To be fair, if you have the clear amulet on the quack, they probably are not bringing their intimidate user into your team when. That's the one reason that like White Herb might be bad is because like they switch their Hydreigon, they switch their like Gyarados or Arcanine into your Hydreigon, and you're like, oh well, now I'm at -2 anyways because they dropped them a meaningless stat, and now that's not really an issue because they don't do that because your Quack has a clear amulet. The Pokemon, I still don't buy the White Herb set, especially not on a team with Haze Murkrow. I don't buy Wide Lens Pelipper. Just hit your moves. Like it's a Pelipper. If it misses, I hope you don't lose. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pull up and roast your team, Loving Q. You did really, really well in this tournament. But
They definitely double.
okay.
You know what? I don't think Loving Q consented to this. Loving Q just wanted to play in a tournament, have a good time with their favorite starter from Gen 9, and here we are.
I just wanted to look at the duck. I wanted to.
I think that the Rain Abuse Quackable is actually like sort of nifty. It gets a really nice speed stat after +1, and giving it an extra multiplier on its moves.
Brave is really cool. A really rare
Brave
move in
is
the
very
format.
cool.
Not like very rare, but like, you know, flying coverage is really cool. Especially with a lot of things going for the Terra Grass. This duck choosing to Terra Grass itself as well. Again, not to like rip too hard into the team, but I think I would swap out Brick Break for like close combat because just like Brick Break doesn't pair well with the fact that you have Moxie, and if you take a KO, you start to ramp and snowball and go crazy and just, you know,
Yeah,
I want to do damage.
Yeah,
I get
agree.
that screens maybe is a problem for the team, but you know, at the end of the day, screens you just have to just keep hitting, just keep punching. Hold on, before we go on, I think we got like quite a few questions that maybe we can just run through really quick.
Yeah.
A lot of Lions asks body press on analytic Magnezone. I think that Magnezone, like as we were talking about earlier, setting up defense boosts is a little bit hard to do, and just because it gets the extra boost of analytic on that body press doesn't make it a lot stronger than the other things Magnezone can do, or make it stronger than other body press Pokemon.
Yeah. I'd rather
Also,
pick
analytic
Thunder.
is kind of questionable in doubles because it has to move after every other mon on the board, not just after the target. It's a lot more of a singles ability.
Opinions on hard room teams. I think that I guess as the hard trick room resident fan here, I think that it's definitely viable. You know, especially in a metagame that uses a lot of tailwind, tailwind, tailwind everywhere. But I think that finding the correct combination of trick room setter and trick room sweepers is rather difficult, especially given that you have to cover for, you know, a common bulky Pokemon turning into types that maybe you didn't expect. So I think it is very good. I think that it is just maybe hard to build, but once you get the right team, it's just gonna go crazy. And then the people were asking about Rain. They wanted to, man, I guess I think I'd answered this question too because I was using Rain this weekend.
You are a resident rain expert, yeah.
Oh man, it looks like Adi is a hater. By the way, the poll has resulted, and
Confirmed.
yeah.
I have to abide by the
Also,
results.
Yeah, so yeah, everyone else is also.
So yeah, Rain I think is very good. We'll talk about it later, maybe a little bit, maybe not. But like Eric Rios used that at a tournament this weekend. It also got a top cut in the first tournament. I don't think we mentioned it, the Liberty Note one, right?
Mhm.
I think Rain had a finish there. Yeah, Rain
Yeah,
got in top 8. And yeah, I think Palafin is just a really cool Pokemon. I think Pelipper feels pretty reasonable. A lot of people want to go back to relying on the like Crutch Focus Sash set for it, but I don't think it needs it. I think the Pokemon has enough bulk, especially if you EV it well, that it can just switch in on hits and abuse its really good stabs. You know, Flying, Hurricane, really good. Hydro Pump with Rain Boost, really good.
It
Yeah.
also has a really nice defensive typing specifically for wide guard. Like two of the best spread moves in the format are actually three of the best spread moves in the format are Earthquake, Make It Rain, and Heat Wave. And they can safely come in on all of those, and then wide guard to protect the partner that doesn't really want to deal with them. So,
Yeah.
I think that's an important philosophy that Nick is mentioning. Is like you might think, you know, wide guard is really good on Garganackle, and it is because it's protecting itself from the Make It Rain and Earthquake that it's weak to. But that makes it very self-supporting. Whereas
It has
Pelipper,
it has
like-
to be on the board already. You can't send it.
yes, that's what I'm trying to say. So it's very self-supporting. It protects itself from those moves, but Pelipper can come in and say, "Hey, buddy, I got you. I'm going to bail you out of this bad situation," and click wide guard so that it protects its partners from those moves.
Yeah.
All right, and then Devon, don't worry, I have your team queued up as well on this list. So that is actually the next one is Ishdok's team, which I know Teen Spirit built originally, I believe, which has a bear tick on it. And I don't know if he posted a rental code or not, but Devon caught Victory Road with the bear tick as well, I believe. So I wanted to get your thoughts on this team, which is I guess the cool part is Terra Water, Swift Swim, Bear Tick, along with Pelipper. Of course, so it's a rain team, just using a different rain abuser and maybe the one good Swift Swim on in the format.
This is actually how I found out that Bear Tick gets Swift Swim.
I mean, it had Swift Swim before it had Slush Rush.
Yeah.
Before that was even an ability in the game. You know.
No. I do think that a lot of the Swift Swim users are pretty mid. So it does give a chance for mons like Beartick to pop up. But the rain team that topped Japan used Palafin. The rain team that topped here, besides this one, used Quack Quack Quack. And this one used Beartick. So there is a lot of room to build with rain. I mean, even you, top 16 with Palafin and Dreadnought, right?
I didn't bring Dreadnought to a single game. You're not wrong. The Swift Swim mons are doo-doo. Beartick was one of the first Pokemon that I was like talking about with regards to Terra when we the game hasn't even come out yet, and I was like, wait a minute. So this is really cool because you can take your Chlorophyll mons, turn them into a Fire type, and now they can finally use that Sun boost. Beartick was one of I think the only example On the flip side, I think maybe Armaldo, which I think is not in the game, is like one of the only other Pokemon with Swift Swim that is not already a Water type.
Yeah.
But Beartic just gets to pretend that it was just like all the other Swift Swimmers, like Golduck, like Dreadnought, I guess, and
And it can punch through
yeah.
Moongus, and no
Yeah.
one can take that away
Well,
from it.
it can punch the Amoonguss. The Pelipper supports it with Wide Guard, so it's not as weak to Goldengo, or it can Terra Water to get around Goldengo, which is like the main reason Ice types are in a tough spot right now. It does play well with it, right? Like there are a lot of Grass types. Masquerada is another one, which it outspeeds. I assume I don't actually know what speed stat Bearstick hits, but I assume it outspeeds Masquerada and kind of just KOs it. So it's
Hit
got
better.
some cool tools.
I mean, if Dondozo can outrun Garchomp, Beartic can outrun Masquerada. Come on.
I like the the Meowscarada with AV on this team. I'm curious about how that was or how that felt because we've been talking about Meowscarada and we talk about Sash, we talk about Choice Band, but
That's
like
good too. But yeah,
yeah,
AV
Life Orb
definitely
as well.
hasn't been popular yet.
Yeah, no, this is my first experience looking at it.
Yeah,
What is it?
can't say I've run any AV Meowscarada calcs. My judgment of its bulk is that if it's a strong attack, it probably dies. You can probably flip that. Like I'm curious if it was Hydreigon Dracometeor, for example.
It's tanking those pollen puffs. It
Sure
doesn't
is.
care now.
Let's go.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, in the second
Oh.
flower is also pretty strong. So
Since we knew one of the creators of the team was in chat, they just said it takes Draco and it KOs back with low kick. So
yeah.
mystery
So,
solved
okay.
on that.
So my philosophy in that regard is that if AV is making it so you get two shot by things, then you might as well just run Focus Sash because Focus Sash guarantees that you're getting two shot. But of course, your Focus Sash is already taken with the Pelipper. We were just discussing how Pelipper maybe doesn't need the Focus Sash, but if that's where you choose to put your Focus Sash, then AV does make some sense on Masquerada because it does make a lot of those Okos to it KOs.
and honestly, you could probably get 3-shot after like AV probably lets it get more value out of protein defensively, and that's something that the offensive sets don't really get to take advantage of. It's mostly just a downside, but if you're getting the value out of it offensively and also defensively, protein starts to look better, and the downside starts looking more like an upside if you can just pick the best defensive typing for the position.
Yeah, I buy it. All right, I think I have one more team pulled up from this tournament. I do. It's Callie from Canada, who had a Noivern on the team that I wanted to look at. I figured it was a telepathy Noivern. I think that we saw a similar team to this do well at the Stuttgart regional side event, which was like the first tournament, the really first tournament we had with this rule set before it was even officially announced. And this is like telepathy spam, I guess, or like boomer spam. You got boomer.
It looks like it's built entirely around the low key toxicity.
Yeah.
You've got double ghost, you've got double telepathy, the Terra normal. This thing's here to click boom burst.
I like this already. But yeah.
This is, Toxtricity is one of my favorite Pokemon, so I love to see it do well. And I tried to make this work with like Drifblim, and it was only okay. But it's cool to see this in top cut.
I will say one thing about Toxtricity that doesn't feel like it's selling me on it too hard. Like the boom bursts do massive damage. I'm not a huge fan of throat spray in general as an item, just because it feels like a bit slow to ramp up. But but just like the thing with boom burst that is underwhelming me is that it's a normal type kind of like spread nuke when we already have very strong normal type options that people have to account for in their building anyway. And so people are going to just have answers to this that might just overlap from things that they were targeting elsewise. And I'm kind of dancing around the mons, but it's, Mouse Hold, Choice Band, Extreme Speed, Dragonite. Some people do, Terra Normal, Arcanine as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if there's any other big normal ones that I'm missing, but those like 2 and or 3 honestly account for pretty much like 90% of the normal spam that you're going to see. And if you don't have answers to those, your team is probably just not built well enough. And so I'm wondering if teams will just find themselves having boom burst answers accidentally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it performed reasonably well. So,
Yeah.
True.
And they had answers to what you would answer.
Furry
Terra-
Graph is another one as well.
Mm.
That one can Furry Graph can do some damage with Hyper Voice.
All
It's
right.
not quite to the same degree, but
Whoa, Jeudy, you doing all right?
No,
So-
it's just gonna have a
No.
new angle.
I feel like I have to check this every time I look at a team and I'm like, I don't know how this beats Dondozo. And then I check what it lost to, and of course it did lose to a Dondozo in Top Cut, not Santi, a different one. But
Hey. It has some. The Noivern is actually built for Dozo. Look at this. So, Super Fang is a move that's kind of like not very well distributed in the format. I think Mousehold is probably the best Pokemon to get it. But Super
Yeah, we
Fang
don't
does
have them.
really well when you're like trying to get through the 150 HP +2/+2 defenses Pokemon. You say, I do not care about anything. You take 50. You take half. And then you can just click Draco, and your drops are ignored for the rest of it. Those Dracos are probably doing about 14% total, but then the 2nd one's going to do 14 as well. And then the 3rd one's also going to do 14. So, you'll get there.
yep. And then the first time they order up you have a Havenberry to resist it, and the second time you Terra Steel and you resist it again, and it's crazy. And they 3-shot you,
Yep.
and you 5-shot them. So you're winning that trade.
It's a 2v1, Adi. And you know what? But this is one of the few times that, like, I feel like people always fall into those team building traps where they're like, okay, so, like, I can beat Garchomp if I have Mousehold next to this, and they just don't account for, like, the Murkrow, the Goldango that's next to it or whatever. But no, this, like, you can just say, like, yeah, no, my Dondozo counterplay specifically, I have this guy next to this guy, and, like, I'm always going to be in the 2v1, because unless they're doing stupid suicide tots strats, it is a 2v1, factually.
Yeah.
and the Suicide Tots notably has completely fallen off.
Mhm.
We talked about that
Yeah.
a bit earlier, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like it is not a thing, and it shouldn't be a thing. It was funny early, but like, don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say about the team. It looks fun. I would love to be clicking Boom Burst. It just seems like an awesome move.
It does
Toxtricity,
look
a very
fun.
cool Pokemon. Those Overdrive, also a very fun move. And on top of all this, for no reason in particular, this Pokemon resists sound moves. So like, you get to just like really shrug off Sylveon's hyper voice. I don't know. There's a decent number of sound moves. If you get Snarled, you resist Snarl, but like honestly, Snarl's pretty day ruining for them on anyway.
No, it's all about the mirror. The two Toxtricities just boom burst everything else, and they end the day looking at each other, and they just nod in approval at what they've done.
Nah, Nick. You can't tell me that this thing is not just doing 50% to itself anyway, despite the.
Yeah, but it would have done 100% to itself without.
It would have done. So
They're just
true.
rocking out with each other.
Yeah, they
True.
are. It's like a guitar duel, or like what do
Yeah.
you call those?
They're
yeah.
kind of hero.
Is there anything
Everybody
else
else
to say? I mean,
is
like,
doing
if we go any lower in this tournament, we're going to be talking about too many teams. If you want us to talk about your teams, do better. Sorry.
It's true.
That's
At least
all-
make
that's
at least
all.
make top 16. I mean, come on.
So yeah, there's a couple more teams that we didn't talk about, but there's only so much time in the day, and
we have one more
also some of
tournament
these are a bit more typical, so there's not as much to say.
I was going to go digging for the rental code, and then I realized that I cannot click on any VGC player's Twitter. There's like a 50-50 shot that it will ban me from Twitch if I click on it, so just not going to do that. We'll have to find it on our own time. I'm not sure if it was even linked.
Please, guys, do better.
All right. Okay. So we got 2 more tournaments, I think. Maybe 3. I forget. The first one, there was a Spanish local. I'm not exactly sure what you call it. There were a bunch of tournaments that were hosted in person. The one that I saw advertised the heaviest was the one that was hosted by, I think, Victory Road. And my understanding of the format, I saw Torview in chat, so you might be able to like clarify it. Was that it was a 40-player open tournament. The top 2 advanced to top cut, along with 6 players who were invited, and then Torviv won it with it's no surprise, it's Dondozo. This one is slightly different, but Masquerada, like we mentioned, is kind of a staple on the team. This one is filled out with Lycanroc, T-Tar, and Sylveon. So, any thoughts on this team?
Teacher Locking Rock Dozo has been bouncing around for a little while. And I mean, clearly took down a pretty solid tournament here.
Yeah.
So congrats to Torviv. I'm not too sure on what it does. I'm assuming there's some overlap of the Dozo counterplay that T-Tar Lycan Rock tend to just shred through. Murkrow, I guess, is a big one. If you lead Murkrow into T-Tar Lycan Rock, you're having a bad time. So that could be a little bit of what's going on here. But yeah, I can't say that I haven't really played with the team much. So if anyone else has some thoughts on it.
And Evan just linked the tournament in chat. So there was a
No, this is the
top
open that fed into it.
I see. Okay. Wait, do we not have info on the top 8?
No, I don't think we have information. I mean, unless Torviv or Evan knows about that, but I'm guessing that maybe they're still putting together a pretty graphic for it.
Okay.
But yeah, this is the open Adi that basically the top 2 players from this tournament were given the chance to play in this essentially invite.
Oh no, you can click through to the invitational on the prizes and Damuga and Fellows.
Okay.
And
Very
then
cool.
you get to you get to see that Torviv won and Kesty got second, etc., etc.
Cool.
Wait, where do I click this now?
The prizes
Okay, invitational.
on like you can see the top 8 from the open, and yeah, invitational is a link.
Oh, there we go. All right, sure enough. So yeah, we see Torviv's team is Sandozo in the lead, and then Casty had yeah, we can see the 6 Mons. We don't have anything beyond that, but Casty had Gallade, Baxcalibur, Salazzle, Amoonguss, Azumarill, and Hydreigon. Some pretty crazy picks there.
I'm especially interested in the team that got top 4 that had Houndstone on it, and this team we do have the open team sheet for because they got in through the open section of the tournament. So that did more than just win an 8-person tournament. It won a 40-person tournament and then got top 4 in an 8-person tournament. So maybe validating the existence of Houndstone and maybe what it can do, other than just dance along to the rapper.
It should be noted that the person who got second in that same tournament used Casty's exact 6.
They sure did.
Yeah.
Fellows,
That makes sense. I mean,
Wait,
it's
so
a
it's not
spam
second
circle, right?
twice?
So they might have built it together.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so we can view both of them.
That's true.
Yeah.
We can see that too. So let's see. Eject Pack Salazzle, very cool. Overheat, of course, lets you just fake out and then get out of there. Acid Spray is a cool tech to go with the Hydreigon. There aren't a ton of other special attackers on this team that can take advantage of it. We just see a Perish Azu, so maybe the goal is to take 2 and kind of clean up, and then we see Baxcalibur with Loaded Dice, an item that has not seen a lot of play or any VGC play really recently, but I assume Cassie ran the same sets, and so Juan here doing well with it with Icicle Spear on Baxcalibur, guaranteeing 4 or 5 hits on their Icicle Spear, which is pretty cool.
Did you guys talk about this Azumarill yet?
I just mentioned Perish, but do you have more to say about it?
I'm just looking at it. What the heck? Just support Perish song. I mean, honestly, the only thing I can say about this that like I totally get is like Sapsiper's kind of nice right now with Meowscarada being the threat that it is, and yeah, this Pokemon does wall Meowscarada's stabs as well as its most common coverage moves in U-turn and like a Brick Break or Low Kick fighting type coverage.
Yeah.
It's also a very bulky, not very bulky, but like it's got good typing for most of what Dondozo is going to do. You resist the water type move. You are immune to the dragon type move. they can just hit you with an Earthquake, which has spread damage reduction, or a Terror Blast if they happen to be
Yeah.
carrying it. And so it is very likely to be able to get off that Perish Song and then maybe spend some of the following turns clicking Chilling Water so that even while it's counting down, you're not, getting
Ending.
rolled by the damage.
Yeah.
And
What I
then
This
noticed
is-
when looking at this team is how sad a Miaskarada would be looking at this team preview. The Azu owns it. Salazzle and Amoonguss and Hydreigon are all really good into its stabs. Just Miaskarada does not want anything to do with this team,
Literally.
and that's a little bit of how I think you have to prep for them on, because it doesn't like damage reduction tends to get ignored by critting, and so
and you can KO around Sash with Excalibur, as Roshan mentioned in chat.
Yeah.
And if you get to Dragon Dance, I assume you outspeed it. I don't know what the speed stat is on this Pokemon, but
yeah.
you also have IC Wind and
Also
stuff.
interesting to see that Excalibur is running Ice Ground coverage, which is just it's been a thing in Pokemon forever. Ice and Ground have a super synergistic pairing, and so Excalibur gets there with DD Terra Blast.
Wait, so I'm confused. Did they give the invitational spot to somebody else?
It looks like the second place player probably wasn't able to play. Eclipse got third in the qualifier, and my guess is that they had a higher Swiss record.
Oh, I see. Eclipse is there. Okay.
Yeah, Eclipse was got into the bracket.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna be a hater again, real quick. Wow, that's a really cool Azu set. I heard it beats Dondozo. Now, what did the what happened to this tournament? What did it lose to in finals? Oh, to Dozo? That's crazy. I can't believe that.
That's insane.
I don't like this hating energy. Right?
Bro, you can't.
Right? I mean, come on.
People keep putting these
Okay.
awful Pokemon on their team to beat Dondozo, and then they keep losing to Dondozo. You have to build a team that has a Dondozo counterplay built into your good game plan so that you can also beat the other modes. That's the only way to beat it.
Okay.
You
But
can't
is
put
this
Chipmunks on your team.
necessarily? I agree, but I don't. So, because there were two teams across two tournaments that used similar perishing Azu stuff. One was had the perish option. This is probably just a cleanup option. So I think that this Azu set has not probably perish song Sepsiper has use in a lot of other situations. It's a fat mon that's not going to be dying. If you are able to build a team that takes 2 KOs quickly, it can literally be your win condition. So I think it has other things going besides Dondozo counter, which, to be fair, I don't think that mon wants to look at Lycanroc, Titar, and Sylveon, which are the other mons that were on the team. Which is, I guess, yeah, you did say you can't build your counterplay as a solo mon. I should look at what else they had for that matchup. But yeah, Dondozo's fucked up is, I guess, what we're getting at too. But I think that this Azumarill set should be looked at a little bit more.
I think it looks a lot better when there is a Gothitelle on the team to trap and take advantage of Perish, and to take advantage of the chilling water drops, potentially attack drops, and keep those Pokemon trapped in. I don't think it's
I want
nearly
to
as
talk
good.
about
without that.
Demuga's sets a little bit. This is the Houndstone team, and Houndstone aside, they made some interesting choices here. I haven't seen this before now. But the Talonflame is special Talonflame. It's got Overheat, Air Slash, Tailwind Protect. The Annihilate is Choice Scarf, but it's not gambiting. It's just 4 attacks: CC, Earthquake, Rock Slide, and Shadow Claw. Notably, also dropping Rage Fist and U-Turn, which are considered to be staples. And the Skeledirge is Terra Grass with 3 attacks and an Expert Build. So just interesting choices. I think the Talonflame is the most real out of these. I'm not super sold on Protect 3 attack Skeledirge, and the Annihilate, the Scarf Annihilate attacker seems kind of sus, but potentially decent. But just some interesting choices. And I'm not entirely using interesting as a means to convey disrespect. Although I like, there's a little bit of that in there. Don't get me wrong.
Did you talk about special Talonflame?
Of
I
course, but Ani,
did.
you weren't paying attention even a little bit.
I'm
Yeah,
trying to
sorry.
do 8 things at once right now.
Yeah, special talent plan is like super interesting.
That's the part that really interests me the most. I feel like you can't run Hurricane nearly as well on this team, but like I think that your Talonflame does not get to click multiple attacks, and so just clicking one overheat and doing big damage and ignoring like the various different intimidate users that really get to switch in freely onto you, like Gyarados and Arcanine and
It's worth
Taurus.
noting that Intimidate also just has barely been seen in like all of these cuts that we've been looking at.
That's true.
Yeah.
And honestly, that part is like one of the most
Yeah,
surprising
if you
things.
put on, if you make sure to pull up on screen right now. Oh no, never mind. I was going to say that the 2 intimidate users in the invitational were at the bottom, but there is an Arcanine in the middle, so my statement is not entirely true. But yeah, there's a Gyarados and Arcanine at 7th and 8th, and then yeah, David also snuck it into the middle with a Arcanine as well. Darn, would have been such a sassy statement.
And like as for Liberty Note, I'm just going back to talk about this point. Arcanine was at like 10% usage, which is far lower than it's been in past regional dex formats. Even like it took over 17, but even in 14 and
How did
20,
Intimidate do in the top 8?
I don't think there were any intimidates in top 8.
3 appearances.
There
It
was
looks
one.
like Gyarados second.
Oh, there was
Arcanine
one
in top
two,
intimidate
there's
4.
in top 8 of Liberty Note.
There was two
No,
Arcanine
there's
in top
3,
8.
right?
There were 2
Yeah, no, I was
Arcanine
going back and checking Liberty
and the
Note.
Gyarados.
Oh, yeah, okay, there was more than one.
2
So,
Arcanines
yeah.
and the Gyarados. Yeah.
Maybe
All right.
I mean maybe that
But
indicates that
Gyar-
it's being underused, right? Like
Gyar-
it
yeah.
seems like its conversion rate into top 8 is higher than its usage rate. Although the Gyarados at least is like a very very specific team. I don't know if you can really extrapolate from what Snow used into like a general sense because it is all like so precise for the like kind of game plans that Gothitelle creates. But
Yeah,
the other 2 teams with Arcanine on them do look like they are a little more generically good.
Yeah, Gyarados' usage in Liberty Note is like 1.8%, which is we did 5 total uses and more than 200 mons, which is down with Pokemon like Corviknight, Gastrodon, Palafin, Excalibur, Glimmora, and it's like one above like Vaporeon, Tinkaton, Crobat, which I mean, viable mons down there still, but
Yeah.
it's not. Intimidate is like probably the worst it's ever been, or at least the least used it's ever been. Like
The hardest to use, maybe, too. But
there's a lot of counterplay floating around, and not like it also just hasn't really. I guess it's been performing a little bit, but I think its win rate has been the win rate of all the Intimidate mods has been pretty poor. So
Yeah.
just really interesting to see this as the format develops. That Intimidate just is not taking down big tours when it's been a staple mechanic for the past decade.
Forever. Yeah. I've been basically shouting out since like week 1 that Intimidate is not that great right now. But it like Pokemon is always like a pendulum, and like it's gonna be like Intimidate is not great. You know, people had tons of Intimidate counter, are gonna lessen on it. I was already lessening on it, like not respecting it because I think Intimidate is bad. But like I think it'll find a place as like things normalize, as like items get more like commonly like if people start dropping Claire Amulet or if people start using different abilities on like the Defiant Mons, it'll have a place. But the gone for now are the days where you're like, I need what should I slap as the 6th Mon, or like you don't have an
I need my
Incineroar.
Intimidate user on this team. Which one am I using? Is not a question
Yeah.
you're asking. You can. There's a lot of ways to add bulk to your team. Intimidate is not just the vanilla default most efficient way to do that. It is just one of the options.
I think the other two things are that one, Incineroar was not used just because of Intimidate, right? It has maybe the most like robust like tool set of any Pokemon ever in VGC.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
no, it's not really comparable.
it makes it really easy to slot Intimidate on your team when Incineroar is an option. VGC 17 Arcanine was the other one, I guess that, or and like
Yeah, and
whenever
it
Landers
was
is
good for a
legal.
lot of reasons, not just Intimidate.
But yeah, and then the other thing I do think is that there's a really interesting dynamic, like Jeudy mentioned, that is going to be like how good is Intimidate that directly, or Arcanine, I guess in general, is going to directly correlate with how good Clear Amulet is. And if Arcanine usage is at 10%, then maybe you get to drop your clear Amulet from your team. Because you don't worry about Intimidate, and there aren't as many good Snarl users. We haven't seen Snarl Hydreigon really do very well. I can't think of any other real Snarl abusers. Like Kingambit learns it doesn't use it. And then in that case, maybe suddenly Arcanine becomes better because all these items and all these like text counterplay to it is no longer in the format. And so it's kind of a give and take in that regard. And it's going to lead to a really interesting dynamic where I think its usage is going to fluctuate pretty heavily.
Like Annihilate is the second most used mon at Liberty Node. It's the second most used mon at the Gamergy Open. If Annihilate usage is hovering around 30%, then it makes sense that Arcanine usage is quite a bit lower.
Unless they run Vital Spirit and not Defiant. Right? At which they might choose to do if Arcanine usage is at 5%.
Yeah, it's just really important to have your finger on the pulse of the meta, following along to see which direction you want to take your team building in.
Oh, we're still talking about Intimidate? I'm bored.
Okay, well, let's move on to what I believe is the last tournament that we had. Do we have one more? What is this last one? No, we had one more. We had one more thing after this tournament. Okay. Okay, so the last tournament that I wanted to talk about is that Joe UX9 hosted a tournament. I did not know this was happening. I think a lot of us didn't, because I would have potentially played in it if I had known. But it was a kind of a last-minute tournament that was best of one Swiss with open team sheet, which I think is a cool format. And I guess I should poll the room, but what do you guys think of best of one Swiss tournaments to maybe like have a faster tournament that also has open team sheet?
I think
Adi
it's a pretty
stole my
cool
thing
format.
there because that's what I was asking around our group the other day when this tournament was announced. I was like, yeah, no, this seems like a good thing. Just because we're going to be playing open team sheet a lot, and while we're going to be playing best of threes at tournaments, it's still just good to get into the habit of you play that. I think it's really good for team refinement, not for using a team that's like the team you want to win the tournament with. Of course, you can do that too, but I think getting a lot of best of ones in will help you learn really quickly. You know everything about their team, so you're not trying to scout for anything or learn what's happening in the matchup. You just get to play the game, and you get to say like at the end of it, oh yeah, I could not handle them leading with Garchomp plus Rotom Wash, so I'm gonna especially with those sets. So I'm going to fix that on my team going forward. And you don't need to play 3 games to learn exactly that. Sometimes just one is enough. And so it's just like really good rapid fire open team sheet practice.
Yep, agree with everything said. Open sheet best of one is not that much different from open sheet best of 3. It's just it's a pretty cool format.
I also don't like staying in my room the entire day playing.
Well, no, this is stay in your room for the entire day, but not stay in your room for the entire 2 days. It's an important difference.
Yeah.
You can go out and touch grass on Saturday and then come and play an entire tour on Sunday.
Yeah, that seems like the consensus is that the time commitment is the main thing, where you get to play again a lot of really quality testing, a variety of testing, and a variety of testing that like is different than like playing a room tour on Showdown, because like by round 3 or 4, if you're doing well, you're playing good opponents, and that's not always the case. But you need to have a certain critical mass of players before that becomes the case, and that's only really feasible in these shorter tournaments if they're best of one. So I would really like to see more best of one open team sheet tournaments. I know Joe called this a pop-up tournament. It was not announced with a lot of fanfare. I know, Poke Bros does like weeknight tournaments as well. So I would love to see more best of one open team sheet tournaments that, maybe end in a few hours, but give you some really quality practice. I think this is really cool as well. And then I guess on that note, we can talk about the results of the tournament. Joe, of course, going undefeated all the way through his own tournament. He wouldn't have if I had known this tournament was happening. I'll tell you that much. But
Same here. But yeah, congrats to Joe.
I could use an ego boost. I guess the Lexicon Invitational is going to get hosted this weekend.
it's true. Yeah. Lexicon, you heard it here first. You got to get
Or I
your
guess
TO
not
status first.
invitational. It has to be an open, I don't know, pop-up tournament.
No, invitational. You're the only player invited. That's how you go on.
All right,
YouTube.
yeah, that's true. Well, I was going to invite you because I feel like I could go 1-0.
Bet. We'll find out.
Good Jeudy, watch out. Don't want to get TOS by Twitch.
All right.
I didn't even notice.
Making sure.
Don't worry. I'm cutting it, just that clip, and putting it on my YouTube channel.
That's what's
The pop off.
It is very hot in my room, and I was just like,
And now
Oh,
it's getting
no.
hotter.
true.
ugh.
So I guess talking about the results of this tournament, I believe top cut was best of 3, and
was.
so we did see maybe a little more. I don't know. It was a big top cut. And I'm always skeptical of big top cuts because it's hard to win a bunch of matches in a row, and doing well consistently speaks more. Although that being said, Joe did win a bunch of matches in a row very consistently.
Yeah, 12 of them.
12 of them. Yeah, that's crazy. So I guess we can pull up Joe's team, right?
Yeah,
That's,
we definitely have to talk about Joe's team. It went undefeated.
it did. So the team is somewhat standard, or at least using standard sets. Would you see the Quash Murkrow that we talked about it coming back into popularity, and then
Rotom. You got to talk. I think the only thing to talk, like literally the
Oh.
team, you could probably ignore everything here. The
I don't
Volcarona
think-
mildly interesting.
The Volcarona is interesting for sure.
Because it's Struggle Bug Wisp, which is cool. It doesn't have Rage Powder on which you usually see on the support sets,
Yeah,
but it is
Volcarona-
just kind of
yeah.
it is
It's
just like
it's a bulky fire type that's trying to
damage reduce.
It's trying to take Arcanine's job. It's got Flame Body as Intimidate that doesn't proc Defiant. It's got Struggle Bug instead of Snarl, but it has Stab on it and a big special attack set. And it's got Overheat for big damage that doesn't recoil like Flareblitz does. It's
Yeah.
this just looks like Arcanine too.
I gotta say though, I'm a fan of the Wash Rotom. Just like Joe is kind of opening the door for in the Dynamax format, you needed your screens instantly because if you didn't set them up before your opponent nuked you, well, it was too late. However, people have been kind of falling off Grimmsnarl, at least with people that I've been talking to a bit, which is supposedly you guys. Yeah, just because bringing Grimmsnarl does mean that you have a dedicated screen setter. After it's set those screens, what is it doing? And Spirit Break's all right. It's got a decent attack stat, but Rotom Wash seems like a Pokemon that can set the screens if they help you, but also just click one of its 2 stab moves, which is usually what it's there to do. It has good defensive typing, and it's there to hit hard with water or electric coverage. So you could just say well, I know my opponent's going to double protect here to stall out the last turn of Tailwind. Let's get a screen up. Or, my Rotom is sitting in front of an Amoonguss that is going to redirect its attacks. I'm just going to get a screen up,
Yeah. I also like that it's pulling off Hydreigon's trick of being a Steel Terra on a Levitate mon. Just a phenomenal typing. Being a floaty steel type, so
wait, how many weaknesses does it have if it Terra Steals?
don't worry about it.
2, 3.
Yeah, fire
2.
and fighting.
0 because of the Terra.
Right. That's what I thought.
True. True, because it's a water electric, and you went to grass, so you don't have the weakness.
You don't have any weaknesses.
You just yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
We're referencing Alex's viral tweet. Like got something stupid, like 15,000 likes or so.
We got 16K. It was stupid.
I'm
It's
just
so much
saying
to
though.
go
I think that there is something in Electros. I don't know who's gonna cook it. It's not me, It's probably not any of us here, but if it tops something, I'm not going to be surprised.
I will be,
That's just.
but I'll be happy.
All right, I pulled up the tweet on screen. It did get 16K likes, and it got a lot of really
All
stupid
right.
replies.
Yeah, if you feel like rotting your brain just a little bit, go ahead and go read through the whole discussion underneath that tweet.
Oh yeah, one of the replies to that thread was an Ace Attorney bot. I'm just reading through some of the comments, and it was brain melting stuff for sure.
Yeah, but honestly, sometimes you need your brain melted. So yeah. Okay, so I don't know if there's anything more to say about Joe's team. Let's run through maybe a couple more of the teams before we hit our last bit of news here. And
Yeah.
so the second place team, I think we can skip entirely just because it is, I believe, just the Rental of Snows team.
Mm-hmm.
But congrats to Charisma Check for the deep run.
We see another
And then
Quackable.
another Quackable.
This one built a little differently. No rain on the team. Just a Focus Sash Moxie, so maybe more straightforward.
Yeah, I like this moveset. Close combat there for the actual damage, and then Aqua Jet. Priority moves are good. So, then oh yeah, let's talk about the Goomies team.
Mm-hmm.
We got the worm,
The Worm.
and we got another Gothitelle, of course.
See, I'm sad that the Earthworm wasn't Terra Electric because
It would have no weakness.
it would have no weaknesses because of the Terra. And but Poison is probably better because Poison is only weak to Psychic and Ground, and you get rid of that Ground weakness with Earth Eater. Poison is the Psychic weakness. If they would have to read your Terra the turn that you're doing it, Psychic is otherwise resisted by the natural Steel type of Earthworm, and then your fighting weakness, your previous fighting weakness, becomes a resistance. So the only thing that's left is Fire going from weak to neutral, and I guess that Psychic weakness gained, but it sounds like all upsides on it. I think that's actually a really good Terra type for this Pokemon.
Yeah, and Iron Defense Body Press one definitely does not mind being poisoned.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Iron Head. I guess they always run a Steel move, which makes sense. But I just
This is probably the first Shed Tailer that we've seen have a good performance. That move is all over singles. Like OU can't get enough of Cyclozar. Like it's a top 10 mon. Despite being completely missing from VGC performance.
I'm so happy that the Twitch chat is just using because of the Terra to just explain anything. If you don't understand a mechanic, just say because of the Terra.
All right. One interaction I do like here. I don't know how much it actually came up, but my complaint when using like Trick Room stuff is that I can't get Torkoal in turn 1. And Orform actually does that. It gets you Torkoal in turn 1. Obviously, they'll probably nuke the Gothitelle into oblivion. Don't worry about that. But like, I do.
Can you get hitting the Terra Dark or the Psychic type? Does your Dark Pulse contribute to the nuking? Or no?
No, I'm clicking Draco Meteor. That's it. But no, yeah. That is one cool thing I like about it. Besides, Orthrom is also a slow mod. It better be slow. It's like a Steel type, and I don't know its stats.
Oh, Jeudy does not know the stat. I was going to say, he does not sound confident.
I know.
All right, Jeudy, give us a guess. Give us a guess. Where do you think it lands?
Does the slow worm get the bird?
I'm going to have to go with 60. 60 like every other Pokemon ever. I'm going on PS right now. Here we go. I'm about to find out. It's 60 or 30. No in between. Here you go.
It might not be in between.
It's 65.
You were close. You were close. I'll give you that.
No, but that's like low-key a good speed tier because there's so many base 60s and they usually don't run a ton of speed. And so you just gotta create them a little bit, which is kind of nice. 61 is a number, right? Tyranitar 61, I think.
Yeah.
What Earthworm's doing really well with its speed tier is it's setting up that Shed Tail after it has taken a hit, and but before Amoonguss. So it is getting the sub up, and Amoonguss won't be able to spore the switch in. But also, for example, Cyclozar, the other Pokemon with Shed Tail, if it sets up its sub and switches, it might just get broken immediately by the number of Pokemon that fall below it in the speed tiers. And so you accomplished a free switch, but you don't also get the sub benefit. And sometimes you want to be able to have that
You want
free
your
turn
Torkoal
to
behind a
that free
sub.
turn to do whatever you want.
You want your Torkoal behind a sub clicking eruption into a room
Yeah, right.
Yep.
That
next to your
does sound
Gothitelle.
awesome.
One thing, I tested this a little bit like earlier, and my takeaways, I had two takeaways. The first was that it was really hard to run this in a metagame where there was so much Garchomp hate, and this was, I think that might have reduced a little bit. Garchomp might have gotten better because people have started to focus it down a little less. But I do think Garchomp is poorly positioned into things like Meowscarada and into things like Hydreigon being everywhere. But it's really good into things like Goldengo and King Gambit. So Earthworm is kind of reliant on Garchomp to be a Pokemon, at least for more than one turn. The second thing that my takeaway was that I really wish Garchomp was slower. And I guess you could just make your Garchomp slower. I didn't really think about doing that. But I wanted to click Earthquake right before Earthworm moved because you want to heal up so that you guarantee that you get your Shed Tail off. And if you...
I think Gumi gets to accomplish that in a different way. The Gothitelle has Heal Pulse, which is one cool interaction with the team. Another thing is, and this is not related to this metagame, but Earthworm is just kind of missing one of its best friends in Tinglu. Tinglu very much fits the bill of what you're looking for, Audie. It helps patch up Earthworm's rather poor special defense with its ability, and it can Earthquake it right before a Shed Tail, which is just neato burrito.
It was like that, and it was the Paradox Donphans, I forget which one, that like fit really well next to it, and both of them are gone.
Yeah.
But it is still a real... Shed Tail is a really, really good move. Getting a Pokemon like Hydreigon or Torkoal in, or Garchomp in with a substitute and at full health is really cool. I was trying to abuse like multi-scale Dragonite with it, which is also pretty good. But again, there's a lot of hate for normal types as well, so it didn't work nearly as well as this team did. But there's a lot of ways to abuse Shed Tail.
I also just want to talk about this team structure a little bit. So we've got a team structure of just kind of like 3 fast mons and 3 slow mons, including the Goth. So usually BGC, like the most common, I guess, team structure that like really feels like a hard and fast team structure is like 3 pairs of Pokemon. Where you have like a Lilycole and then an Indeedee Armarouge and then like maybe a couple of fast mons or something, and you can just bring 2+2 to your modes of 4. 3+3 is not a very common way to construct a team. So I'm kind of interested in that. Maybe seeing if like that works well going forward. For potentially Terra reasons. I don't know. Or if that's maybe if that's like a Gothitelle thing where you can have Gothitelle hold a fast mode together. But I'm just kind of curious about that because it's definitely not a standard way to construct a team. Also noticed that with the Flying Goldengo, there's 3 mons that Chomper can Earthquake next to if you've paired into it. So that part's also pretty neat.
One more thing I wanted to add on like the Garchomp stuff. I noticed it earlier and didn't like really want to talk about it but there are a few more teams that like pop up. People are starting to go away from just Terra Ground chomping. I've seen quite a few Terra Fires, and that's definitely because of Meowscarada kind of giving it a really hard time. So I'm definitely excited to see more defensive type Garchomp, especially when you're like all of the defensive types Garchomp goes to loses to Garchomp, but if players are using Garchomp less and there is going to be less Garchomp hate in general, you're allowed to explore your Terra type to deal with more common things like Meowscarada.
Yeah, Steel Chomper also notably resists all of its previous weaknesses, so it loses the Chomp Mirror, but gains in a lot of other matchups.
Yeah.
So Are there any other teams from this tournament that people are looking at that think are super notable? Adi, if you want to put it on screen, just so like if anybody in the chat has any teams that they want us to specifically look at and analyze a bit. Otherwise, like there's like one team down in like 13th place that I thought was fun just because it has Arboliva, and I am a believer in Arboliva.
I saw
Um,
the top 8 team too.
I'm not currently. Do you want to make me Arboliva?
well,
Have you tried
let's take a
seeing
look
your
at its
face?
set and see if this can convince you, Nick, because this Pokemon has at least this one that they built it with a Citrus Berry, Terra Normal. Of course, the ability is the one that sets Grassy Terrain on taking a hit with Leech Seed, Energy Ball, Hyper Voice, and Pollen Puff. So the thing that I really do think Arboliva could be really cool, especially if it were introduced in a metagame that didn't already have such awesome grass types. it it has we have a Moongus, we have Breloom, we have Meowscarada, we have Armarouge. It's just really fighting to stand out as the premier grass type. I mean, Bulu never had it easy, right? You know, but there were always those Bulu fans. Maybe I'm a bit of a I was always a Bulu fan, so maybe I'm a
I'm
bit
such
of
a
a
Bulu
Arboliva.
enjoyer.
I'm looking at this team, and all I see is okay, well, I can Earthquake next to my Arboliva, and then I can never Earthquake again. And I can Misty Terrain to turn off my own Grassy Terrain, or vice versa, in case I wanted to do that. There's like, I don't know. I mean, it's cool to see Arboliva do well. It feels like it's so out of place on this team that has Earthquake and has manual Misty Terrain.
Hey.
This team also doesn't
You don't
have a
see the
turn
vision,
attacker.
Adi. Hold on, Adi doesn't see the vision. Adi is blind to the heat that is being presented to us all here. Okay? You earthquake the Arboliva, and then set up the Grassy Terrain. Then you earthquake again and switch to Tyranitar. And you activate the weakness policy for half the damage. What's the problem?
You know what? You're cooking, and it's bright powder.
Yeah,
I
this
think
is SPS quick, and we're at the table. We're enjoying.
Yeah.
That is actually a pretty cool line. That's a line that I would not see if I was looking at a team sheet, because that's like one level too deep for me to realize. And then I lose to it in best of one, and then I immediately beat it in top cut, which is looks like it's what happened.
That tracks. Yep. Yeah, this team doesn't have any speed control. Just like full stop, there is no speed control on the team at all. Instead, it has accuracy control with the Garchomp, Sandville, Bright Powder, and of course damage control with screens. And screens
and Pollen
often
Puff.
can be a pretty effective substitute for speed control. But
You've got screens, you've got Bitter Blade, you got Pollen Puff, you've got the ability to dodge moves like Grassy Terrain
Weak
potentially.
armor,
You can heal up. It's not that bad.
yeah, no, like speed control is not mandatory. It's something that most teams tend to have because it's an effective way to play the game, but it's not the only way to play.
Yeah.
So with that, are there any more teams in this top cut? I know this tournament was a little bit smaller. How many people did it actually get? Do we know?
Let's find out.
Uh,
Got to 111.
The top 8 team is probably the other team that has like different things on it.
Yeah, the top 8 team. Jeudy, do you want to specify a little bit?
The one that got 8th specifically. Rain. Yeah.
Michael
Okay, yeah.
Durdesky.
I saw this team, and it does seem noteworthy. I guess the Serena is worth mentioning, just because I thought we had kind of talked about a lot of the other guys here.
It's also worth noting that this guy, Michael Durbesti, is a Smogon player who's actually who started out in Gen 8, and he's like super cracked in team tournaments. Like his record is I think 27-12 because I looked it up earlier today. Because
Nice.
he's also on my team for the Smogon VGC draft league. But it's cool to see him getting into VGC. And
Yeah, I guess we need to watch out
Yeah.
if you're saying
New
a
guy
top
on the
Pokemon
team.
player from singles is making their way over.
So actually, I don't. What is drop kick?
Jeudy, are you kidding me? Come on.
No, it's fine. He didn't play after 2014.
I skipped Gen 7. I don't know.
Yeah,
You
that's
missed
fair.
out, Sam. But yeah, Dropkick is I want to say it's 75 base power. Grass move drops their attack by 1 stage every time. It's like Rock Tomb sorta, but like that's not the best example. But just yeah,
It's like Skitter Smack, Nick, isn't it?
it is very much like Skitter Smack,
It's just
except it
like
doesn't have an
Skitter-
accuracy check. They did Skitter Smack so dirty. Just some of those other moves were so good.
It's so funny that they added what's the new one this gen? Pounce?
Yeah,
Why?
and
Why
Pounce is
are...
also just like a pretty solid move, and it's not amazing, but it's like
Yeah.
I think it's 60 base power, so it's
It's like
technician
Spirit
boost.
Break, pretty
Oh,
much.
it's 50 base power. So
Why are they adding? So wait, wasn't Skitter Smack like kind of the same as Lunge? What was Lunge's deal?
Lunge was 80 base power though, and it's also a way better comp for Dropkick.
Hold on, let me see.
Yeah,
Data
okay,
Lunge
Dropkick
is
is-
80 and it always lowered. What was Skitter Smack doing? Was it just a
Uh,
straight downgrade?
It's like 50.
It's just a
Skitter-
it's special attack. It's special attack.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
also 90 accuracy for no reason.
So like, what's the like? All right, hold on. I want to ask Nick this question. This is an important question, Nick. What is the lore reason that bug moves are the ones that just are randomly dropping stats now? Like, why are they deciding that bugs?
They bug you.
That's what I was thinking, right? They're just
Yeah.
annoying. They're
Yeah.
bugging you.
They're there to ignore you, and then you just like, no, get off of me, and then
Annoying.
and then they get off of you, and you beat them because they're not very powerful.
Yep, that's true.
Real.
And they're just there to annoy you.
That is very much it, huh?
Like Struggle Bug is at least actually like reasonably
that-
well tuned.
That's a good move.
That's a real move, but
And also, I like that Struggle Bug has the niche of being 100% accurate on top of Snarl, or like over Snarl, I guess. So,
yeah, it's also and it's more base power as well. It's like Struggle Bug's like actually low key a really strong move. Just its distribution is pretty mediocre. But then like a lot of the other utility bug moves. Okay, U-turn is phenomenal. Can't flame
Right, yeah,
that one. But pretty much all. I don't think there's any other good utility bug attacks.
Dave mentioned Fellstinger.
Fellstinger is also. I mean, okay, so it's not very good, but it's insane when you hit it.
And then there's First Impression. That's another weird bug move.
That
That's
one's
like a
very
signature
good.
move, though.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
What?
it's like,
It was.
attacks versus signature move.
What? It is not a signature move at all. I'm tired of hearing
In
this.
Gen 7, it was a signature move, right?
Yeah, but it's
was-
not anymore.
It was Pod's signature move, but yeah, it's on quite a few Pokemon now.
That's true. I mean, Haxorus is the mon that uses it best right now, which is kind of funny.
Slitherwing is going to hit hard with First Impression, and we're going to have to be ready for that. Like, 90 base power priority just is not a joke. But yeah, that's a later issue, not a now issue.
Yeah, Kangaskhan's gonna learn Population Bomb.
Yeah.
No, stop it.
All right.
Chansey's
So
gonna
what,
learn Population Bomb.
somebody tell me the what's the chance of Mega Kangaskhan hitting 20 times the population bomb? Because it just still is 99% 20 times. Like it's 90% accuracy to get the 10 hit. What's the accuracy for the 20 hit?
Well, you see, it can't run a wide lens, so it's only 34% chance to get the 10.
Oh, dang it. Okay, so we have to skill swap parental bond onto the mouse, is what you're saying?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, there we go.
Also, this was brought up in our chat earlier. Did you know that Population Bomb is a cutting move? So it is also boosted by sharpness.
What? I don't have any lore reasons for that.
I think it's because of the Japanese name is like it's something related to like mice teeth. I forget exactly what it was, like biting.
Okay.
Okay.
The rats are slashing, according to John.
I guess that makes sense of why it makes contact, but okay, sure. It's also not going to be any stronger than Technician, so
Yes.
whatever.
Well, you don't want
We
to. You don't
seem
want
to
to
be
skill
getting a
swap your-
little lost here.
Yeah.
No, we're a podcast. We're allowed to meander.
That's true. But let's I think maybe move on from this tournament just because
Yeah.
there's not a lot more to say of it. It was a bit of a smaller one,
Yeah.
best of one as well. So
Yeah.
Don't need to talk about everything here. I think we should move on to our last item of the day, which isn't the biggest topic, but it's still just kind of like news that's going on in the scene. Adi, why don't you take us into it?
Yeah, so they just announced that we were going to have the new 7-star raid. Of course, Charizard being the previous one, Terra Dragon Charizard with a certain mark. Now we are getting Cinderace as the next one. The fighting type Terra, also I believe the mightiest mark. And this is going to be running for, I believe, 2 weeks starting from January 1st, or runs from December 30th to January 1st and January 13th through 15th. Okay, I did not know that's how it worked. I did not do the Charizard raid, so I have very little interest in this, but this might be related to the next series that we get potentially. That's the more interesting avenue of speculation for me. But
Yeah,
Alex,
so,
you brought it up.
For the people that are wondering, like, I don't think this Pokemon is going to be legal for Series 1 and, everything else. We have, like, full legality lists for those, I believe. It's like anything in the decks. And so that's why you don't see Pokemon like Charizard that's, catchable in the game, or Berserker that's obtainable in game in VGC Series 1. So this Pokemon is going to fall outside the rule set. It won't be legal, so don't worry about like having to, you do the raid if you want to have one for the future, but don't worry about getting it competitively ready immediately and that it being some top metagame threat. And that's the next question that I'll throw back to you guys is: do you think this Pokemon we don't know when it's going to get added because surely it's not going to get if it gets added in Series 2, it's not going to be like Series 1 rule set, Series 2 is Series 1, but plus Cinderace. We're going to get some other stuff added with it, whether it's the Paradox Pokemon, the Legendaries, Charizard, the Hisuian forms, or Home Pokemon. But just like looking at where we're at right now with the way that Gen 9 is playing, do you guys think Cinderace has a place?
It probably has a place. It can do Meowscarada type things. It's slightly slower. It's slightly. It's got a slightly higher attack stat. Pyro Ball does a little more damage at +0 than Flower Trick, but doesn't have the utility of critting. So it's probably a little weaker on average. The Mon, it was insane in singles last gen, and it was insane when it can Dynamax, but when it's just a non-max attacker, it's kind of mid. I think it'll be playable, like it's a fast attacker, but fast attackers are not always the best way to play doubles. So, and a lot of its coverage last gen, it got a ton of value out of streaming. It was just a really good max abuser. Its steel spikes are also very good, but Bounce and Iron Head as moves when they're not Dynamax boosted, they're way more underwhelming. So I don't have a ton of hope for it, but it's still got an attack stat. We're assuming Libero got the same nerf as Protein, right?
I believe that's confirmed.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Cinderace probably also suffers from that. It really wants to be clicking moves, like different coverage moves for like the first 3 or 4 turns that's on the board. And so only getting stab on one of those.
I also think it getting 3 or 4 turns on the board without Dynamax might be a stretch.
That's also fair. It is just kind of a glass cannon. Actually, it's like the pretty much dictionary definition of a glass cannon. So, yeah, it looks like it doesn't get any new tools other than Trailblaze. It looks like just doing a quick and dirty scroll through the list of moves.
Did it always get Snarl?
And that's
a little bit stronger than Meowscarada. It is 6 attack on it. It's a little bit slower with 4 speed less than it. It has worse original typing. Meowscarada starts with 2 stabs I guess that's counting for it choosing not to use Protean, which I do think Overgrow is just a better ability on the Mon, but the Mons are still kind of comparable as fast glass cannons that are starters, so even ignoring the fact that they have Libero and Protean. But I think Meowscarada just has a bit more going for it with that respect. I'm looking at my options on Cinderace, and Fire at least gives it one thing going for it, is that it can switch it on a Will-O-Wisp. It's immune to Will-O-Wisp, especially if like you're against like a Prankster. I think the only Prankster Will-O-Wisp mon is Sableye, but if you're gonna get whisked by something faster than you, a Volcarona maybe, that's not a problem if you're using Cinderace.
Yeah. Also worth noting that it is just a little bit bulkier than the Oscarada, but it's got like 16 less special attacks, so it just gets to distribute.
Wait, Nick, did you mention Trailblaze earlier or no?
I mentioned Trailblaze. It's,
yeah.
It's okay.
It's funny because you can get this +1 speed on it, turn into a grass type, and then kind of have a permanent goggles. The rest of what it wants to do.
That genuinely doesn't seem that bad. It requires a turn of setup, but if you're getting spored, then you've generated your free turn to deal a little damage and trade your turn for their turn, and then you can just start Powerballing in front of an Amoonguss or Fireball the Amoonguss.
I was thinking I just Powerball the Amoonguss first.
It gets Super Fang.
I think it got that last gen because it's like it's a bunny.
No, I just like that it got it has Super Fang because Super Fang seems. I mean, Super Fang wasn't valuable in Gen 8, Nick. I don't know if you know this.
It sure wasn't.
It did not work well with Dynamax. It did not play well with Dynamax, but it does play well in Dondozo.
The other thing I want to point out is that Court Change, if it's a Tailwind heavy, probably does get a decent amount of application.
Literally, I'm on the Bulbapedia page looking up if Court Change has priority, because if it did, that would have been so sick. But I do think I'm trying to steal Tailwind.
Yeah,
that's.
They Thanos Snatch,
to be
right?
Fair, you could. Wait, what's up, Bobby?
They Thanos Snatch.
Yeah, Snatch is gone.
Yeah, that was gone last gen too.
Yeah, no, Snatch was a cool move. Man, I could spend a while talking about cool moves that they took away. But
let's talk about cool moves they kept. And Court Change also notably did not get used last gen while Gmax, Wildfire, etc. were being thrown around.
Those are pretty good effects to flip, huh?
Yeah. So I'm not that's also hard to pull off because you're tanking max moves. So maybe it can find a way, but it seems like the type of effect that would be good if it was on a bulkier Pokemon.
To be fair, we were also clicking Airstreams, lots of Airstreams, and we had lots of random you just run Iron Head because it boosts your defense. Because why not? And become a Steel type also. So
so I think Court Change last gen probably just didn't work for tempo reasons, and it still might not work for tempo reasons, but it's a really cool effect, even if it's pretty low in viability.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think screens heavy meta is maybe the place where it shines even more, because it does just get to steal your opponent's screens. They work so hard to put up. Tailwind is harder because they're also clicking a powerful move next to their Tailwind setter, and Cinderace is probably dying before it gets to click Court Change.
Yep.
But it does have a cool support move pool. I wish it could run. I wish it had a little more bulk and it could run stuff like Super Fang, stuff like Taunt, Snarl, Feint, Sucker Punch. I had some others that I was looking at that I've forgotten. Wisp, yep. And Pyro Ball is still just a really good move, even if you don't have a ton of attack investment. U-turn is really solid.
I think it's just going to end up pigeonholed into Glass Cannon Attacker, because that's what it does best. And
Yep. They even tell you that in game to train your Pokemon in what they do best. I believe that was what the battle instructor was teaching you.
Yeah, not me. I'm gonna put max HP on my Talonflame and make it up.
I mean, you have done well with that before, haven't you?
I actually have.
We can't talk any more about that Talonflame or we get canceled.
Yeah, it's a cool Talonflame, but yeah. I think that we'll have to see the meta that it's going to be in also, because we all thought Meowscarada was buns, and it was bun. I'm standing by that it was buns in the first series that we were playing in, or the pre-series one. But then series one happened, and it was Amon. So
Yeah, Meowscarada does seem like it's just living off of being the fastest thing in the format, and being the fastest thing in the format just kind of makes you like great. We saw that with Coco and Gen 7 for every format. Dragapult and Gen 8 just kind of permanently had viability even when people said it was going to fall off. And Fluttermane was killing it. Iron Bundle was also very good. And the week
Series
that
0.
we had, yeah, Series 0. And then with those guys getting yeeted, Meowscarada is the fastest Pokemon that's like very good, and so it just gets a boost to its viability for being faster.
So if you are watching on
Um,
Twitch and you want to watch the VODs, not only will they be available on Twitch, but also they will be on my YouTube channel, CK49. That will be uploaded on Wednesday because we are a Twitch affiliate. We can't upload it right away, but yeah, it'll be up in a couple days. And if you're watching on YouTube right now, you should check these out live every Monday on Twitch at twitch.tv/TubNationTV. And thank you all for watching if you're watching on YouTube. And yeah, thank you guys for coming out and chatting. Appreciate it. This was fun, and we'll do it every week. I don't know if we might have a rotating cast of characters, but we'll try to do it every week.
Yeah, so just
for it.
before we head out, as we're like kind of wrapping up here, if there's any last questions that you guys were dying to get in and didn't ask earlier, fire them off. If there's anything that you guys want to see us do in this next time, if there's like certain other topics that you'd like us to approach, or certain different ways that you'd like to see us try this thing. This is obviously the first one, and I'm pretty sure I told Adi about the idea on like Friday, and we just like, he was busy all weekend, and then Monday came, and we're just like, all right, we just got to do it today. So I think it went pretty well, despite us having it feeling a little bit rushed, but I think it worked out pretty well. And yeah, otherwise, I guess just for Nick, Jeudy, is there anything you guys want to plug? Adi, you two? I don't really have anything I want to plug besides, I guess, my Twitter, which is at LexiconVGC.
Follow me on Twitter, but I assume everyone here probably does or has beef with me, so they don't.
I have beef with you.
Don't. Thank you. True.
Thoughts
What are
on
your guys'
guest
Twitters,
for this
though? Nick, what
format?
is it?
I'm at NailsOU.
Jeudy?
Sleepy.
Yeah.
What's your Twitter,
You can-
Jeudy?
Yeah. You can follow me at SoulSurVGC, or you can just type Judy, whatever, however you want to pronounce my name, in your little Twitter search bar, and there's like a good decent chance I'll pop up.
Let's find out right now. How do I want to spell your name? Let's see. Jody Azumeril.
That
Damn,
works.
No.
still
That'll
results.
get you there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thoughts on Gastrodon in a hot tub? No, just thoughts on Gastrodon in the format. I think Gastrodon is... Honestly, I think, if anything, if I was doing anything with Gastrodon right now, I would not be using it on the usual defensive teams. I would probably just be using it with Surf Spam and Trick Room. I think that it is a decent offensive niche in Storm Drain going crazy and doing damage, but defensively, I think it's not keeping up.
Yeah, the water types in the format, there's like a solid amount of them, but they're all physical. In Gastrodon, it gets Muddy Water and it gets Earth Power. So slap a Choice Specs on that bad boy and watch him go. But he still doesn't go that far because Gastrodon is a Pokemon with a lot of limitations. You also can Terra Fairy it, and if their Order Up Order Up Wave Crash has the only Dozo coverage, you can just wall it out. You stick another Fairy next to it.
But
They'll probably be able to play around that and just stick a Meowscarada on you. So it's still not very good into the team overall, but it does cover for the Dozo specifically.
yeah. And if it was in a hot tub, it would drain all the water, and I would not have a fun time with it.
Oh, that's a good point. Jeudy answered the real question that people want to hear the answer to.
All Gastrodon does is take.
Never gives.
Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, you can check out all of the Twitters in the description down below, and make sure to follow us on Twitch. Watching on Twitch, make sure to follow us on YouTube. You know how it goes.